So for like Warcry speed, you get a lot, dude. Is there a freaking there isn't a speed one, right? I freaking forgot. But like even without jewels, you get like a 0.2 cast time. So that's like 4 war cries a second, right? That means if you have a 16,000 mob, right? All you need to do is like 80,000 poison on your freaking like gas grenade or gas whatever to get like to get 4 seismic cries off, and that's 32k like flat damage. Isn't that crazy? I don't think that shit is making it in the game. Like 32k flat damage is like absolutely bonkers for single target. But you don't. There's gas arrow and gas grenade, and there's totems, so it's not even like just the gas problem. Like 32k is like this is without jewels, right? I know there's like I think it's on Ruby, right? Yeah, there's like 20 Warcry speed on jewels. So let's say your build is like set up like something like this and like this, right? And like this and like this, right? And like this. Like 20 Warcry speed is crazy, dude. Look at what this number goes up to, dude. So at 0.16, dude. 0.16 is like 8 war cries a second. So like so if you do if the mobs have 16,000 armor, which a lot of endgame mobs have 16,000 armor, some like bosses have like 20,000 armor, right? Um,
Huh?
like just say like 16
Huh?
divided by 2, 16,000 divided by 2 times 8, that's 64,000 flat.
Di ganito yun ah.
Like there's no way that makes it in like that, right? That's too insane.
May make API. What the fuck?
Or am I crazy? I know you're 64,000 flat on a 5 link because you're gonna have to use like seismic cry and then the battle shout like support,
Kabisado mo ba
right?
yung make
But it also gets
yung
more
make
damage per
command
string,
ng API
so
sa Laravel?
you're not really even missing a
Yung
support.
Make command ng API.
make?
Ah,
Gago yung make, ako lang gumagawa nun. Walang make yung
ay
Laravel.
so artisan yung artisan make meron yun akong may na-try ako eh. Make
No, I'm not
API.
crazy, right? I'm not crazy, right? That's the math behind it. Am I wrong? I'm not
Yo,
wrong, right?
make install API lang ata yun eh. Gagawa yung route.
Ah, hindi mo malalagyan ng flag yun na gagawa ng MVC.
Yeah, I don't think I'm wrong either.
Meron
It's
yun,
like
model ka
as soon
mag-uumpisa.
as you get poison on
Ah,
your version,
isa-isahin
it's
mo
by
yun.
server ticks, so like it can definitely hit like
Hindi, tignan
these
mo.
numbers.
Live ka.
That's freaking insane. Like it wasn't really good for corrupting cry because corrupting cry had a like a like like a limit of like 10, right?
Teka,
I mean,
Tindox.
it's fine. Like I mean, I would rather do this literally
Sa
than like they fuck
ang
up
Dokyo kasi
and then have to
isa-isa eh.
remake another build and spend like a week and then them going, this is okay, like we're just gonna
Ito
modify
may
it.
PHP artisan
Like I don't think that's reasonable because that's what happened
san
last time, right?
make PPI ba?
No, it didn't say it had an internal. It didn't say
Hmm,
it had
what?
internal review.
Isa-isa
I
yun
would rather
talaga.
them just nerf everything beforehand. So I think still have
Uy,
like
gumagana ba to?
it's still super OP. I just
Teka.
don't
So,
want to get it like nerfed to the point where you can't
PHP Artisan make model.
This is like actually like super different. But the problem with this,
Tas
it's like
dash
PHP
dash.
Artisan make model mo lang. Walang dash dash.
Ito
PHP
yung
Artisan,
make
hindi, makinig ka
model.
sa akin.
Ah,
Makinig ka.
ah,
PHP Artisan make model mo lang.
these other nodes are like way
Wala ka ibang type.
okay.
Make shell lang yan eh. Ba't type mo pa yan?
Na-push
Inayos ko
mo
na
ba?
yan. Oo.
Ah, hindi ko pa na-pull.
I mean, this node can be okay. Like if you're like running like Armor Explosion and you're
Yun.
because like Armor Explosion. Maybe Concoction? No, I don't think Concoctions are very good to start. I think you need to play something else until you get like at least like Widow Hail and like a +2 quiver.
Seeder. Factory.
So there might be a resmith.
Wait.
It might be
Insert to, di ba? Seeder. Hindi kailangan. Migration lang.
I don't think the Pathfinder resmith is really
Ay,
worth it.
teka. May
For,
dami
for,
data ako.
Um like you really don't need like
ayun yung resource controller.
because single target is not really
Yan,
good.
gagawin niya yung
You
mga
just
yun.
need a Widow Hail and you can go like 5 skill points right away and 5 skill
Form
points is
request.
honestly it's like as good as like
Front
Ano ba gagawin mo?
view ba to?
Ano ba gagawin mo?
API lang.
2 second
If,
and like
ah,
but hopefully by then you have enough money to buy like a 200 Widow Hail and
Thank you.
just do like this function. But the thing is like what are you gonna play like until then?
I see. Okay.
Because like it's just like the same as breathing gear, like but like gas because you're not playing like poison burst right at the start. We tried restarting poison burst. We tried playing poison burst with wooden gear and poison gas with gear, and they were both horrible. So fresh start would be like no LA is not bad. LA is really good. I mean not LA
Shit.
LR. Sorry, but I don't know what they're gonna do to
That
like
in-stash ko
they
lang
might
yun.
cut it to hell like even for low levels, which would kind of suck because yeah, it's definitely like Stormcaller base, or like
Ang dami data ko.
I don't know if it's gonna survive. I don't know if it's gonna survive, but like Battle Shell looks absolutely like crazy. If it goes live like that, I'm literally restarting it. I don't really care because
Makakaroon.
I feel like Resonating Shield, like you just run around, you're going Resonating Shield to break armor, and then like it's a 2 button build to clear, but you're like Resonating Shield Battle Cry, Resonating Shield Battle Cry. But on bosses, you just lay down your gas, right, and then you just go until and your shit is just gonna die like instantly. Like 30, like this flat number is like absolutely insane, right? It's like the worst thing, the thing that prevents this build from like ever like being like top tier, I feel like, is because it doesn't have enough increased damage. But I don't know. You still have this. You still have this, right? In terms of like getting increased damage, and you have this still. God forbid you get that helmet, and then you just like waste it on that bitch. Yeah, it sounds like really like already really good. You can't use that helmet because it's hit based, right?
Kapasutra moves ang puta.
Like Purple Cry can't use that helmet because
Gago.
it's increased damage with hit base, right? But Battle Cry definitely can't use this helmet. And you're like in the strength area anyway, so you're just getting strength here, strength here, strength here, strength here, increased damage with strength here because you're stacking strength anyways. I think it's kind of nuts. I'm gonna be honest. I probably shouldn't be doing this right now. Actually, I don't. This actually doesn't tell me actually. Does it tell me? Actually, it shouldn't. It's all TNT. It's all TNT. Um, I don't know. I feel like that thing is like absolutely off the chart. I wonder if they'll make some changes to endgame. Like we were just literally talking about this earlier, and how like the endgame
Airplane.
expanded, right? Not reduced. Um, because somebody linked me some Reddit video and they were like, yeah, we need to reduce like we need to make POE like more Arc and Ditto and like whatever. And I was just like,
Arrow.
let's not do that. Right. Anyways, anyways, I think I think Battle Shell is gonna be cool. Absolutely cool because no, they're not doing wide ones. There's no way they're doing wide ones. Why are these guys spamming country boys? That's not good. You don't want to be spamming country boys. Why do people not spamming country boys not get banned and I get banned? That's not good.
Alat. Ay, bobo. Ito pala.
You know, Ben, he's crying on stream. He's
Wait lang.
not crying on stream. He blocked before I blocked it. What? Ben's fine. I was gonna set up a little talk with me, Jung, and like, um, I didn't ask Ben. I probably should ask him. He wanted to do it before, and I asked him if he wanted to do it before or after. But I mean, if there's no patch notes, we probably should do it after. I don't know. I kind of want to get like everyone involved with like whatever because like um I probably should ask like Alk and Lily too. Like at some point in the week, we should always like all get together and like do some like and get a talk going. But she's probably gonna be like, I don't want to do any content with you. It's bestialities, and I'm just gonna close the stream. She's right though. Is she? Is she? There's 5 new ascendancies on the POE2 website? There's no way. You guys are liars. Where's the 5 ascendancies? I don't see it. This website's barely finished.
Oh.
Wait, there's 3.
Oras na.
7
Gabi,
different
isang
POEs?
oras pa. Tagal.
Kunti na lang ah.
The Ritualist? The Amazon? Wait, she's the base class?
Huntress. Amazon. Ritualist. The Witch?
Hindi. Parang... Parang yung sa kulto ni, ano, King of the Mist.
Wait, that's crazy. The Warrior? The
Smith of
Smith of
Kitaba.
Kitaba?
What?
Ano gagawin niyan?
Dinagdagan nila.
Ano yung tagagawa ka ng weapon ni Kitaba?
Smith of Kitaba? I don't think he will one himself Kitaba. Smiths of Kitaba are master blacksmiths that have the ability to forge their weapons quite literally
Forge
according to
their weapon.
Ascendancy?
Tagagawa nga ng weapon, par. Ay,
Taga-craft.
crafter.
Libre craft mo, no? Libre alteration. O
Tangin
kaya ano, ang tawag dun, identified yung mga item na nagda-drop.
Tangin ng ascendance yan ang puta. Ang puta.
Ano kung ano,
Necromancer, Stoneweaver. The Ranger?
Ano na?
5% 6 link.
Gago. King
Because the Huntress is its own thing, dude. So we're gonna get Ritualist. The ritual embraces the darker side of the Izmiri traditions with ritualistic sacrifice. The Amazon, trained as an elite guard to the Izmiri elders, the Amazon has mastered her fighting techniques to perfection. The Tactician? The Tactician class is a foremost soldier trained in the ways of the Blackguard elite. The training comes in the form
Ito.
of many skills such as ability to pin enemies, place multiple banners at once, or even carpet an entire area with arrows.
Patient. Hindi ito favorite ascendancy ng GGG. Mercenary. Parang trickster.
I'm gonna be honest. The Tactician doesn't sound very good, guys. I'm gonna be honest. Pin? Banners?
White time, white time, 2 white time, 3 white time, 4 white time, 5 white time, 6.
The Lich? The Lich is a master of chaos and curses,
The Lich.
using a jewel to act as a what is this word?
Phylactery.
Phylactery? Guys, what is a phylactery?
Yung pag nag-skill ka,
Guys, what the fuck is a
may bonus
phylactery?
magic
I don't even know
damage.
what this
Oh,
is.
tapos,
A small leather box containing Hebrew text of on vellum, worn by Jewish men at the morning prayer as a reminder to keep the law?
Phylactery.
But she's gonna fight with a small leather box? Wait, what is the phylactery in the Lich? A phylactery is a vessel created through an arcane ritual to bind the soul of a powerful wizard or dragon from traveling to the outer planes after its death. What the fuck?
It's called a Lich. Oh. Ano to sa D&D?
Okay. So what is a phylactery? Guys, what is a phylactery? She has sacrificed a part of her soul for power.
Ginawa ko na pala to.
Is
Crazy.
this actually the minion ascendancy?
Mm,
I can fix her? Wait, can you fix her? I don't know. I don't know, man. Guys, I've been watching some Wheel of Time. By the way, Wheel of Time is better than
what the
than
fuck? Dumbass.
Rings of Power, bro. Amazon invested in the wrong show. Yo, Wheel of Time is so good this season. It's so
Ano
good this
sabi niya?
season.
Mas maganda yung Wheel of
It was
Time
kind
sa
of shitty the first season.
Ring of
Rings of
Power.
Last
Power,
season
ah.
was okay. This season's kind of good, dude. Yo, Wheel of Time is kind of good, dude.
Naumpisahan ko yun eh.
The
Si ano
books are
bida
kind of
dun
sick.
eh.
No, I never read the books.
Sino?
This is what they mean by phylactery?
Tawag dun si Gun Girl.
Ah! Oh, andun siya? Ah! Naalala ko nung kinukwento mo yung... Sabi mo, ang ganda sana kaso ang tanda na. Gago ka talaga.
Ha?
Yung sabi
Hindi ko
mo, ang
pinako.
ganda, tas matanda na. Nakwento
Sino
mo
yun?
yun dati. Yung sa Gun Girl, gago.
Wala akong sinasabing ganun. Na magandang matanda na.
Wait,
Gun Girl?
do you think
Ah.
Jonathan's about to get mad at
Gago,
me
hindi
Si,
ko
ano?
sinabi yun.
for putting all this
Rosamund
info on the
Pike.
website before...
Hindi ko sinabi yun. Maganda talaga yan.
Ah. Ano yun? Wheel of ano yun?
Wheel of Time.
Wheel of Time.
Wait, did they put...
Tapos na ba to? Ang season.
Hindi pa daw yun.
They didn't put,
Sabi
they
ni
didn't put
Roto.
the new, they didn't put the new stuff. Wait, that's insane.
3 seasons.
So we know what we're getting 7 a
Sayang
separate-
yung
we're
ano,
getting-
Rings
wait,
of
we're
Power.
getting
Parang interesting sana nung kwento nun.
Flop
2,
ata eh.
3,
Hindi, tapos na, nag-flop yun.
4, 5 new ascendancies.
Pathofexile2.com.
That's kind of crazy.
You can replace it.
Do
Huh?
not refresh.
Early access.
Wait,
Ba't si Roto may
they put this on the
access?
site?
Ba't tayo wala?
Oh no! What maintenance?
Gago si Ro lang may access.
Am I getting banned for this?
Oh.
I'm
Baka
not
kaya
getting
siya
banned for this,
ban.
am I? There's no way I'm getting banned for this. They posted it on their own website. You're done, kitty? Who just lost his job? Wait, does who do web for them? No, he doesn't even do web, does he? No, he's QA? Oh. Actually, I think I have more bugs in the report. I actually think stuff that's socketed with immolate support can still ignite for some reason. I need to go like test this. I have more bugs. I'm like, there's infinite bugs in the game. Ah. Guys, my plans are now all changed, dude. I think it's time to play some Lich.
Contic, sure ka ba? Wala.
No, but
Oh my god. What?
but Ventura, like honestly speaking, chaos spells don't do damage. Like, what are we gonna play? ED? Like, I'm gonna get laughed at. They don't do any damage. They buffed them last patch, right? But they're still kind of whatever. I don't know, man. Impending Doom. Okay, Impending Doom is a different story. But Impending Doom was an Archmage build, wasn't it? Chaos damage is gonna be on top because it's the only thing that won't get nerfed? I don't think so. spells deal damage. I don't know about this. They deal damage in like Act 1 and Act 2 and maybe Act 3. But are they like... I remember like watching a video of like Maple playing freaking like... Because people were saying like play Demon Mommy last week. And I was watching him like play a video of like freaking... He was like chaos dots, right? And he had like freaking like 200 spells. And he was like on some like 5 million like boss for like...
Napanood ko yun.
Like,
Gagawin ko dapat yun eh.
I don't know about that.
Ang
I mean,
OP
there's no
din
way
nung
this
build
SNEC
na
gets
yun.
more damage than Demon Mommy, right? For Chaos Dot. That thing got like so much spell damage.
Kaso glass cannon yun eh. Demon Mommy.
Tactician sounds so bad. Guys, Tactician says... Where is it? Guys, Tactician says... He trained... The Tactician class is a former soldier trained in the ways of the Blackguard Elite. The training comes in the form of many skills such as the ability to pin enemies, place multiple banners at once, or even carpet an entire screen with That means he's the Ballista, Pin, and Banner class.
Cock shit ang puta. Group cock.
Guys, how does it make a class that's the Ballista, Pin, and freaking... Oh, that's so sad, dude. That's so sad. Oh, man. Oh, I'm crying, dude. Oh, Ballista, Pin, and Banners? It's not shaped like a cat, it's shaped like a bear.
Palsteron guning.
Wait, that's cute as fuck?
Putang ina, nagpakit ang puta.
Wait, oh, you mean the bear? Oh, you mean the bear?
Shaw Rupert niya.
Guys, I don't have my audio like freaking set up. I'm gonna get freaking banned. What is that? Wait. Wait, are we allowed to see this? Was this on the site?
Dev.io medium. Boy pa kayong mga copy 24 dito na ano.
It was on POEDB?
Na tag documentation.
You're gonna get banned? I'm gonna close that. I'm gonna get banned. I don't wanna get banned. Alright, I'll predict. Fine. It's fine. They can't ban me for like... They can't ban for this, right? This is crazy. I didn't do anything illegal. Okay. I predict Critical Strike is going to increase Critical Strike.
Can I be cringe and ask you to turn this off for the reveal if it's on TyCat W?
tree
Wala na.
is going to be you're gonna penetrate elemental resistance. All right. Predatory ins. I don't like this. I think they should rename it. I think they should rename it. I don't like the name of this. In for the kill, charged strike, empower reflexes as Miri Brew. Geomantic experimentation, master flows, intricate sigils, mind phylacteries. Wait, how come there's so many guys? What is the word? What's the word phylactery? I didn't even know what this thing was. That's not an that's not an Asmiri brew, okay? Beer Cat is not Asmiri brew, okay? Wait, what is crystal more phylactery? You'll rupture the soul,
Let the
black
API will
heart,
respond to
necromantic
open
conduit,
routes API
soulless
file.
form, eternal life, price of power,
Hmm.
eldritch empowerment. Why am I drinking piss? I don't know, man, because you're like I don't know. I think I'm not gonna play some lich, man. I think I'm gonna play some lich. I'm liking lich. Look at how oh man, dude. I really like evil women, bro. Like evil, powerful women are like so hot. I don't know about violent, but evil is kind of hot, dude. Evil is kind of hot. Wait,
Install.
what was the other thing?
Install API. Hmm.
Wait, did I close the other window?
Hints.
Wait, there's no other things here. Wait, accuracy, skill speed, evade, and blast recovery. Oh shit. Wait, wait. They're gonna get I mean, these are flask charges? These are flask nodes? Wait, movement speed? What the fuck? Wait, movement speed? Life leech? Wait, life leech? I'm playing this. I'm playing this. I'm playing this. It gets life leech and movement speed. It's not gonna be minus movement speed. What? As whispers ask, as whispers demand. Take off your clothes
Cabron.
now. Why am I naked?
Cabron.
Cats don't wear clothes? Guys, it's okay. We're gonna see it in like 5 minutes anyways, okay? We just got a head start because of the website. But guys, what if this guy actually makes weapons? Would it be cool if they made a hideout ascendancy? Like, honestly, that'd be kind of insane. Animate weapons? Do you think they're gonna import Energy Blade? Let him craft a non-tradable?
Pwede ka mag-Jason Resource ah.
Energy Blade, maybe dervishes? That's true. But this guy doesn't look like an Energy Blade type of guy, dude.
You know what? Fine, fuck it.
Really? Holy. There's no druid. I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I don't know, guys. This doesn't really look that appealing. Okay. He looks kind of appealing. Guys, what do you guys think? This? Or this? Huh. That one looks like a shaman from the Wildwood, but you're sacrificing the deer, bro.
The official
Guys,
Laravel
just think about it.
Discord.
What if you're like, what if this is your girlfriend and this is you? Isn't that so hot?
Installed na ba?
And then she's just like sacrificing you? Wait. It's not a cat sacrifice. What do you mean it's a cat sacrifice? There's no, I'm human. It's a human sacrifice. Guys, it's a human sacrifice. Holy. Okay, I don't know about this one. This looks like a melee cut. Guys, I'm kind of excited for this league, man. Can he just like show me all the stuff already? Can he give me patch notes? What is the I can't change that.
Path of Exile. 15 minutes na lang, Gar. Oh my god.
That's what you want to do with your points? I mean, I'll be honest. True. I sort of enjoy the struggle in this type of game. I feel like the journey is sort of like taken away once you got all that loot last week. I feel like the journey was like a little bit, I don't know, more fun. I don't even think it was more about pain. It was just like the items are too powerful in the game, right? So like once you got like all this loot started dropping, and then like you're just like, oh shit, now I just go one shot everything, put down 3 gas arrows on the ground, boss explodes. Like I didn't even get to do like all the bosses normally like last week because I just killed all of them, right? Like and it was kind of like it took a lot away from the experience. And I mean, I didn't play any on meta builds last week either. Well, I don't know. I didn't play any of the freaking like I didn't play any of the Temporalis builds except for grenades, which I only played for like 2 hours before it got bugged out. I didn't play any of the like the attribute stacking builds. I didn't play Rod. Oh, I played Rod in like hardcore SSF, and that's it. And other than that, like I played like Mace Strikes, Peaconk, which wasn't meta by the way until grenade, stun grenade. What else did I play? Can't that be stream title? Can't that be stream title? But yeah, I didn't play any of that. I didn't play any of the the real like meta like freaking like Archmage. I didn't touch any of that stuff. I played Bone Storm for a day. I played Rapid Fire. I still think Rapid Fire is actually really good of a skill. I think it's like really underrated.
Create, store, show,
Load up
show.
Mace Huntress.
1,
Like Byro. I'm gonna be
2.
honest. If there's no like cooldown on that Molten Strike ability, and you're just like doing your little stabbing thing, right? And then all these balls start spawning, I think that shit's gonna be insane. I think that shit is gonna be insane. You know what I'm talking about, right? The stabbing thing, dude. The little stabbing thing, and then you're just like spawning like a million balls. I think that build's gonna be like straight up freaking like crazy good. No, not that thing. Not that thing. Like, I think the ball shit is gonna be crazy good. I already like I just explained to people how good Battle Shout is as a skill. I think Battle Shout is insanely nuts. And like, if those are Battle Shout numbers, I don't think we're getting huge nerfs. I'm gonna be honest.
Meow.
What am I drinking? I'm drinking honey green tea from a bear cup. You want some honey green tea from a bear cup? Nom 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 nom. Why? The boba place that sells this, they come in bear cups. Why? Do you think I like took green tea and poured it into a bear cup and be like, ew, I'm cute, I'm gonna drink it out of my bear? No, they come in these cups. You order it and then they sell it to you in these.
Ooh, you're so popular.
Thanks for the subs, guys. I know I haven't been around, but yeah.
Ihi na nga ako.
Sige.
Log in. Ah,
Chikit, chaka, chaka. Chikit, chikit, chaka, chaka, chikit, chikit, waka, waka.
ano ba yun?
Dami yan.
Hindi. Ah, pwede ko palitan to.
Okay, okay, saka, saka, okay, okay.
Hmm. Fine. Eh yung...
Tignan ka, paano mo ginawa API? Gawa ng pull request para ma-berate kita.
Secret.
Wala ka.
Gago, merge ko agad to.
Tingnan mo.
Would...
Yung pa nga tinatapos sa isa eh.
No. Tangi, tapos na.
Ang Diablo developer.
Okay na, pre. Tapos na, tapos na. Check mo, check
Tangin
mo.
na kinakalaman.
Status. Bootstrap up. With routes. Ooh.
Baka mo par. Hindi ko ba?
Tingnan mo.
Hindi ko ba?
Init-init. Maliligo ako.
Oh,
May schedule ako eh. Every other day.
every other day.
Mm.
Pwede na.
Today is the other day.
Hindi na tama. Oh. Isa.
Oh. Grabe to si Vincor. Living his life. Kumakwad bike. Oh my god. Store. So, walang ano eh no? Walang drop PR. Nagagawa mo ba?
Ang drop here. O, Brian?
Draft lang. Hindi pa open
Meron?
for review.
Meron. Hindi ka lang marunong par.
Hindi ako marunong.
Oo.
Need API push tools.
Tiyan mo.
Draft. Alib ka ba?
Hindi.
Alam ko
Parang wala nga sa'yo.
Wala, di ba?
Baba mo nga.
Tinry ko, tiga mo. Create pull request ha. Dito yun eh. Still in progress. Ayan o.
Ano?
Asan?
I learn more about drop file. Ano ibig sabihin niya?
Hindi ko nga alam eh. Ayan lang, lumalabas.
Ayan, tama.
Wala. Ito lumalabas.
Wow. Baka yung kasi.
Open in progress. When you're ready, mark drop pull request as ready for review. Putang ina.
Gago plan. Plan. Bayang git.
Oo nga eh.
Sanay tayo sa bayad. Sanay tayo sa bayad na gitabbar. Sanay sa bayad.
Lungkot.
Ano pa?
Hindi pa tapos to. Still
Mag-start na.
in progress. Meron na?
Mag-start na.
Teka.
Upstream ba siya? Upstream ba si Roto?
Hindi.
On Path of Exile 2.
Ayun na.
Welcome to GGG Live.
Dali ako.
Well, it's been a little over 3 months since we launched early access.
Hawak ng
It's
Pringles.
about time for our first
Delay
major
kay
content
Ruto.
update. Today, we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, which launches on April 4th.
Uy, April 4.
Drops
Oo.
are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below.
Kailangan kong magdala ng laptop sa
Executioner's
Bicol.
guillotine finisher effect. Now in today's stream, we're going to take you on a deep dive into the new Dawn of the Hunt update. We'll cover a new class, 5 new Ascendancy classes, and huge expansions on character systems like unique items and support gems. After that, it's on to the in-game improvements, including changes to systems, a bunch of new encounters, and lots of other content. We're going to finish up today with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile 2's game directors, myself and Mark, your questions from Twitch chat. Now we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started with a trailer for Path of Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt.
We as Mary are guided by the spirit.
Gago,
It
Asmirian
provides
yun.
prey, shelter, even love. But for me, one day, all that were changed.
Ito bagong act?
The spirit, it showed me
Ah?
something
Bagong act ba to?
forbidden.
Siguro.
And to defend all I loved, I used it.
Hindi
Gagi, nakapulot siya ng ano.
I lost everything that day.
Na ano?
Ano
Once
yun?
in a spear. Once in a spear.
Hindi, yung gem.
Finish with me yet.
Tawag
gem?
dun? Oh, skill gem.
Lightning spear.
Oo. Tapos pinalaya siya.
I'll right the wrongs I've done. I'll do what I must. No matter the cost. I will hear the spirit once more.
Oo. Gago ako kasi.
Ang tanong, may damage ba?
Mukhang meron naman, namamatay pre.
Ang
Namamatay yung...
campaign yan eh. Ano yun? Kinain.
May wave gag. Uy! Ba't may mount? Ba't may mount?
Kago, may chocobo.
Yung chocobo.
Secret.
Oo. Secret na puta.
Dami.
May secret daw sabi ng chat gago.
Rug Exiles, oh my god. Sandro. Makikita ko na naman si Sandro Marudo.
Yung new map gago. Nakita mo yun? Lake of Calandra.
Log in.
May Lake of Calandra gago.
Kaya pala walang POE 1 pare.
Dami nang
As you can
ginawa,
see,
no?
in Dawn of the Hunt,
Daming
we're
ginawa.
introducing the first new class since early access to POE
Tawag
2.
yung expansion nung...
Huntress. The Huntress is a spear-wielding as Mary warrior. Born into a society with strict traditions, she was exiled from her homeland after using the power of a skill gem to defend her village. As a dexterous spear user, she specializes in both melee and ranged combat, dashing into and out of battle. Spears have extended range and a short dash, but unlike other melee weapons, you can also throw them. In order to make a hybrid
Gago,
ranged and
nakakapag-shield.
melee character work, we had to do a lot of thinking about ways to make it fun to both enter and exit melee range. The first skill you will get as a Huntress is Whirling Slash. As well as striking in a circle,
Hindi mo naman gagawin yun eh.
the skill creates a whirlwind that blinds your enemies. Leaving the whirlwind will make it explode.
Hindi pwede siya
The
mag-block.
more Whirling Slash is used, the bigger the whirlwind.
Ganun din naman
and the bigger the
yung
explosion.
sword eh.
Once you're out of there, you'll need
Akala
to
ko
follow
kasi
up with something ranged.
200 yung spear.
Whip your spear
Gagawin niya
around
ng
to shoot
200.
twisters towards your foes. These twisters
Ba,
bounce
mayroong
off walls
200?
and can hit enemies multiple times. You can also throw twisters inside a whirlwind to shoot out extra tornadoes that do way more damage. In her offhand, the Huntress will usually want to hold a buckler, which allows you to do a new skill, parry.
Pari ang puta.
While holding down parry, your character will counterattack any incoming attack from monsters near you, stunning them.
Ah, auto
In
pari.
addition, the monsters will take extra attack damage from your follow-up strike. Some specific skills are designed to be used after a parry and have extra effects. Disengage is a skill that does a
Parang
quick
Reta
back,
lang eh.
damaging enemies in front of you, and it can be used to interrupt other actions, like dodge roll. If you use it against a parried enemy though, it causes an explosion and gives you a frenzy charge. Just be careful.
Magkakaano to,
If you
no?
parry too
Build
much,
around
you're gonna
pari.
get stunned and possibly killed. You can combine this
Reta.
combo with Whirling Slash,
Yung sinasabi.
Uy!
parry,
Tang-
disengage, and you'll get an explosion from the disengage and the Whirling Slash.
Parang Reta nga lang. Sumasabog eh.
Also has a variety of elemental spear throw.
Gago pag nasobra ka sa pari, babagsak
You
ka.
could
Tangin
use
na.
lightning spear to bounce lightning between your foes. Or you could throw explosive spears into the ground. These spears take a while to
Ayan na,
detonate.
bago
When
ng
they
build
do,
lightning
they'll
spear.
incinerate anyone caught in the blast. All spear throws on the Huntress can also be empowered by frenzy charges. For example, explosive spears will do an even larger explosion and leave fire on the ground. And these empowered versions can activate even more combos. Using Whirling Slash over ground fire will suck it into the whirlwind, adding fire to the explosion. Using twisters inside a fire whirlwind will shoot out fire tornadoes as well. And you can do similar combos with ice and lightning too. Now a key aspect of hunting is exhausting your foes by causing blood loss. This skill is Rake, which dashes towards your target and unleashes a deadly slash, opening up wounds on your
May
enemies.
bleed gan.
Follow up with Disengage and watch them bleed out as they run towards you. On the health bar of monsters, you can see how much blood loss the enemy has experienced, and the Huntress has skills to take advantage of this. For
Ah,
example,
nakikita na
using
yung blood
Punch will
loss.
thrust forward and cause a bloody explosion. The more blood loss, the bigger the explosion. If you want to cause bigger bleeds, try out Rapid Assault. The final hit of this multi-hit combo will stick a spear into your enemy for a big bleed. Now, Explosive Spear and Rapid Assault both result in leaving spears behind, either in the ground or in enemies. But there are other skills that leave spears around too. like Storm Lance, that leaves an electrical spear that arcs towards enemies. But what can you do with all these spears? Detonate them, of course.
Tang
Thunderously
inang
jump
yan.
onto and explode any spears either in the ground or in
Parang
your
lightning rod.
Now, as well as hunting animals, the huntress also has the ability to work with them. While fighting any beast, you have the ability to tame it and use it as a companion. You can
What?
only have one companion at a time, but it will keep
Gago
the
yung
mods for
boss
the ride.
ginawa niyang
Try
ano.
to find a rare beast with good mods to take full
Ah,
advantage
rare
of
pala
your
yan.
ability to tame them. Now, this is just the beginning of the huntress. We've really tried to make the hybrid ranged and melee
Pokemon
gameplay
eh.
work for this class by having a huge amount of synergy between ranged and melee options. There are 22 new skills available for the huntress. By endgame, you'll be slinging hundreds of insanely powerful spears, sending forth spirit animals and summoning the might of Solaris from the sky. But we still haven't talked about ascendancy classes yet. What can the huntress ascend into? Well, the first ascension class you could choose is the Ritualist. The Ritualist has embraced the darker side of his merry traditions by harnessing the power of animal sacrifice and plague. The Corrupted Life Force skill causes all enemies around you to grow volatile blood boils on their
Ganda yung
skin.
skill na yan.
When those enemies are slain, the boils will burst, spreading corrupted
Maganda yung
blood
skill
to
na
all
yan.
enemies around them. The Ritualist also excels in taking advantage of magical
Plus
trinkets.
1 ano yung sila.
Unfurled finger skill allows you to equip an additional ring.
Ano ilang daliri gago.
Taking mystic attunement increases the
Holy
potential of
fuck.
rings and amulets you have equipped. Now this is one of my favorites. As the Whispers ask,
Gago, mahal ng Ring of Calandra nito.
Mm.
Gagana kaya yun dun?
corpses of slain rare monsters
Ay,
to absorb
ewan
the
ko
power
lang.
in their blood to give you one of their modifiers for a short time.
Gago yung Hunter pre.
Specialize further into ritualistic sacrifice with As the Whispers Demand, which allows you to perform that skill on yourself instead of a corpse. Cut your own hand, sacrificing some of your own blood to empower yourself. The Amazon Ascension is for those looking to hunt more than just beasts. Trained as an elite guard to the most important as Merry
Ito,
Elders,
minion.
the Amazon will use more traditional fighting techniques mastered to perfection. The Predator Instinct skill will cause you to reveal weaknesses
Yun,
in
no?
the
Yung
defenses
magandang
of
skill,
rare
oh.
and unique enemies, causing you to deal more damage.
Parang
You
Frostblades.
can see those weak spots represented on their life bars.
Di ba?
Mm.
While using Elemental Infusion, any charges you consume will infuse your weapon with elemental power, causing any projectile attacks to
Oh,
explode.
Gago.
The Critical
Got it.
Strike skill is as simple as it sounds. It takes your excess accuracy and gives it to you as critical strike chance. Additionally, you
Aroy.
have skills like
Excess
Mystic
crit,
Punch,
gago.
which allows your elemental damage to leech life, and as Mary Brew,
Ah,
you
over.
use either flask to restore both life and mana.
Overleach
So
ba?
those are the two new ascendancies for the Huntress, but those are not the only ascendancies in Dawn of the Hunt. We've added a new ascension class for 3 of the other existing classes too. First up, for our warriors out there, we have the Smith of Katava. The warrior is a blacksmith in origin, taught by his father Renly. With this ascension, you can take your smithing skills to new heights by embracing power from the insatiable one himself, Kitava.
Gago, nagpupukpuk ang
Smiths of
puta.
Katava are master blacksmiths and have the ability to forge their weapons.
Nagpupukpuk ang mahapa ang puta.
Using the Against the Anvil notable skill, you can enhance your weapon with fiery destruction before any battle. After doing so, your
Temper
attacks will
weapon.
release explosions on hit for maximum devastation.
May
You
Maxus
can also
gago.
use the power of Kitava to summon an animated copy of your weapon to fight
Gaano
alongside.
katagal yun? Uy, gago.
A great blacksmith can do more than just forging their weapon.
Lumulutang
Armor
gago.
can be
Animate
enhanced too.
weapon.
Now you might think this ascendancy
Armor.
class tree looks a little abnormal, and you're right. There's a lot of notable skills all disconnected at the bottom there. By taking this point here, which is free to assign, your character is unable to equip body armors with mods of any kind. So your body armor must be normal.
Huh?
Sounds like a downside, right?
Normal.
Except now in true blacksmith fashion, you get to craft your own body armor by taking those disconnected notables with your points.
Oh, what the
If you want
fuck?
your body armor to grant life, take this notable. If you want resistances, take this one. There's so many choices. Think of it like you're crafting your own body armor, just in a more literal sense. Now, let's move on to those who prefer the
Ilan yan? Ilan pwede mo allocate dyan?
the mercenary.
Siguro kung ilan
Alongside
ascendancy
the existing
points.
ascension classes, the Gemling Legionnaire and the Witch Hunter, you can now play as the Tactician.
Parang pangit agad.
The Tactician is a former black
Armor
Hindi
yung
natin
source ng plot.
masabi.
free from the duty
Armor yung source ng
He is
plot
able
eh.
to use his
Ino-normal
training
mo.
to decimate the monsters of Rayclast and earn a healthy income doing so. This training comes in the form of various skills like suppressing fire, which causes all projectiles to pin enemies. When combined with
Gago,
the
pwede na mag
Ayun na.
ano yan, no?
your pin not only stops your enemies
Yan
from
yung
moving,
nagpipin.
but stops them
Yung
from
tetrash
revealing
ni
enemies
Roto.
too, similar to freeze.
Pwede
With the
yan mag
Soldier's
ano,
Training,
frenzy
competition
loop.
also works well cooperatively. Using the whoever pays best notable, you can
Frenzy
place multiple
charge
banners
loop.
at once. The watch how we do it skill gives a portion of your weapon's damage to your allies as well.
Gago.
But if that isn't
Tang
enough,
ina,
you can also
kak
command
ang
your army
puta.
of off-screen archers to unleash hell and carpet an entire area with arrows. Finally, witch players will be able to join their legions by becoming undead themselves. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're
Ba,
introducing
parang
the
maganda yun
Witch
Kung may spam yun. Irina Paro.
Witch is a master of
Magagawa
chaos
ng
and curses
damage.
and could sacrifice her
Yung
life
share lang
to
yun.
enhance her energy shield. The crystalline phylactery skill allows you to nominate a jewel in which to contain part of your soul, massively increasing its power. There's just one
Gago.
downside to splitting your soul this way though. If you have no energy shield, your mana costs will shoot up. The necromantic conduit skill causes you and allies in your presence to have unholy might, granting extra damage as chaos damage. Rupture the soul makes enemies you curse explode with chaos damage when slain.
Meron na unholy might na source.
Dominion over flesh allows you to apply an additional curse.
Chaos damage yung unholy might eh.
Parang
It's safe to say
whispering.
you'll be a true master of the occult by choosing the Lich class.
Whispering.
So Dawn of the Hunt has the Huntress and 5 new Ascension classes, but it doesn't end
Parang
there. Let's
maganda
take a
mag
look at
ano
some of
ah.
the new skills with it. Now you may remember we've previously
Hex
talked about
Blast.
the Raise Spectre skill. It's finally
Long
complete
yun nga.
and will be made available in the upcoming expansion. It can be found in the occult skills on the skill gem crafting panel. Raise Spectre is a skill that allows you to trap the soul of almost any monster in the game,
Oh,
which you can then summon in the skill panel.
natulog si Roto gago. Ayaw ng minion.
Spectre's cost spirit
Gago.
will revive automatically if they die, but the spirit cost varies based on the power of the monster. You could summon an army of weaker monsters, or a few of the more powerful monsters. You can combine them with your existing skeleton minions, or summon exclusively specters. It's all up to you and how you want to customize.
Parang di
your
mapatay
army
si
with your
Viper.
Hindi nga. Nang damage gago.
Ang
Kahit sa
damage.
showcase nila.
Safe to say you'll be experimenting with this one for a while. We look forward to seeing which monsters serve you best. Now let's move on to our next skill. Since we've been talking about summoning undead so much, let's have a change of pace and summon something a little more.
Kasi na naman OP no.
In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding the Summon Rower skill.
Ah.
Summon your friendly rower
Secret.
to aid you in combat as a minion.
Secret.
You can also mount your rower in combat at any time,
Summon rower.
allowing you to move at full speed even while shooting arrows or throwing spears. Be wary though, if you take too much damage while riding your mount, you can be knocked off and get overwhelmed. It's worth keeping an eye on your stagger bar, as falling off the
alam
mount
din
can
ang
be almost certain death.
Movement
On the topic of
yung
new ways to enhance your character,
issue.
let's talk about
Naglagay
support
sila
gems.
mount ang puta.
Support gems are used to modify your skill gems in meaningful and
Evasion
interesting
build.
ways. Currently, we feel that a lot of builds have insufficient options here. To alleviate this, we're adding over 100 new support gems.
100.
Hema crystals will enable a new kind of bleed build, turning the damage over time you would have done into
100
explosive
gago.
crystals.
Dami.
Ang dami nga eh.
Alignment is a support gem for bow attacks, which can
Oh,
reward
scout
skilled
build.
players with good positional skills. Caltrops will allow you to litter the battlefield with hazards, slowing your foes as you fling spears through their ranks. But there's plenty more for every playstyle, such as Enormity,
Nawawala si Ipok. Putang ina.
Unsteady Tempo,
Enormity plus ano? Minion life?
Profanity,
Oh, may propane.
Daming effect na bago.
Retaliate,
Yung may
Bumarahin
reta
mo yung
pre.
pula.
May reta pre.
Scissor
Mamuray may kalaban.
That's a real
Profanity.
Gago.
and many more.
Si Ziggy. Ziggy
Now
D.
we've talked about a new class, new ascendancy classes, new skills, and new support gems. But let's not forget about the core of a true action RPG, the items. To start with, let's talk about uniques. We're adding over 100 new unique
Gago, ang
items.
daming unique pre.
This time,
Bago.
we've made sure to add uniques with a focus on mid.
Pangit naman ng
and
unique
tiers
dito
to
eh.
make sure there are more exciting
Ang baba ng
items to
base.
find for higher level
Baka
characters.
naman
Let's look at some
pagganda
examples.
nila sana.
Embrace your inner devil with Chernobog's Pillar. It grants you a
Chernobog?
large amount of
Tayo na.
fire
Di
damage
mo
based on your
bagay.
block chance. The Coming Calamity allows you to become
Ha,
a true master of
coming.
the elements, granting you all 3 elemental herald skills without costing
Ano
any
yun?
spirit.
Uy,
At the same time, it penalizes enemy resistances. Wastegate is a belt useful for builds using a single resource like blood magic. or
Coming
archmage
Calamity.
builds. With this belt, you can use 2 life flasks or 2 mana flasks. It's up to you. Now we could go through these all day, but we'll leave most of
yung
them for
may
you to
Mind of the
discover.
Council, oh.
Suffice to say though, we want there to be way more cool things to find. Over time, our goal is to add a unique to every
Yung
single base
Anchor,
item
pre,
type at a
na
minimum,
Malium
so
Dust.
that you can chance any base in the game.
Rat Pit. Rat Pit ba yun?
Given that we have the
Nakita mo?
hunters, we have a set of unique
Hindi.
spears from early game all the way
Parang
through
yung
the
hawak
endgame as
Rat
well.
Pit.
One example
Globe.
is Scyther's Spear, which combines bleed and fire in a powerful way. It allows your ignites to be aggravated, dealing substantially more damage.
Bleed oh.
We're
Aggravated
also
Ignite.
introducing a suite of unique bucklers with some interesting parry mechanics. Kalgyra's Arc, for example, allows you to parry projectiles from any distance. And we're also
Infinite
adding the
projectile
first
parry
unique
range.
arms. Bayra's Anguish will not only protect you from Ignite, but will also emit a devastating fire nova whenever you do get ignited. In sum, there's just a ton of new uniques to find. We can't wait to see the weird and broken builds that come out of it. Now we also want to talk about crafting.
Para.
Pang ina, pang self-ignite yun ah.
Oo, pang self-ignite, di ba?
Continuing to add and improve
Angas
crafting.
gago.
We have various
Yung
crafting
uptime
tools
na
that
lang
will
ng
add
charm
different
yung
rewards to many of the different types of new
kailangan.
content that we're
Hindi
adding.
ko sure kung
But
may
for now, I
source.
just want to mention the changes to runes. Runes add commonly available mods, but since they only have one tier, flat damage mods tend to get outclassed by in-game. So we've changed runes to have multiple tiers, allowing you to get higher tier mods than before. Our
Oh.
plan is to significantly expand the number of more specialized
May
mods for
3:1
crafting
kaya?
and as we add new content over time. And the first new set of those comes from what we're talking about next. In Dawn of the Hunt, we're adding Asmarian Wisps, which can be found throughout both the
Nerf sa early
and
game.
the endgame. The Asmari spirit has made itself present in Rayclast, and it appears to be trying to warn, or maybe prepare us for the coming darkness. You will first encounter a manifestation of it in the Grellwood in Act 1, where you'll meet Delwyn, an Asmari hunter who is trying to find out what exactly is causing the spirit to behave this way. As you approach the wisp, it will flee, leading you past monsters. Any monsters it comes into contact with are infused by it, making them more powerful. Each spirit is associated with a specific revered animal within Asmari culture. This one is a wisp of the Great Bear, and grants enemies extra life and stun. The wisp moves faster the closer you are, and as you move away, they slow down to wait for you. But if you get too far away for too long, they'll dissipate and return to the woods.
Ano yun,
As you
Wildwood?
continue to chase the wisp, it will find and possess a rare or unique monster, granting it a new powerful ability. Because
Ah.
this was a wisp of the Great Bear, this
Parang
monster now also has increased life and stun. But on top of that, it will periodically summon a large spectral bear that slams with wild fury.
parang yung Sentinel.
If you're able to defeat this foe, you will be rewarded. For each monster that was infused and
Ah,
carried
hindi.
away, the
Hindi.
rewards will be
Possession.
increased. Each wisp has its own mechanics.
Pag possessed.
The Wisp of the Winter Owl is a primal wisp that causes enemies to deal extra cold damage, gain energy shield, and release wind vortices on death. When infusing a monster, they will call down large
Mga
tornadoes
touch
that
lang to
protects their host.
Mm.
The Wisp of the Wild Cat is a vivid wisp.
Pero
that
pwede
causes
sila
affected
mang,
monsters
ano,
to deal
possess
more
ng
critical
rare.
strikes and become more evasive.
Oh, parang tormented spirit lang.
Ah, Tormented Spirit nga.
Mm.
Mm.
Feline spirits that will attempt to tear you limb from limb. If
Yun
you're
yung maganda
lucky,
eh, Reino
you can find
Paro eh.
sacred wisps that can do some pretty crazy things to the monsters they influence. Like the Wisp of the Cunning Fox, which turns normal monsters into magics, magic monsters into rares, and rare monsters into actual bosses.
Oh, gago. What?
Asmarian Wisps can drop a new set of socketable items that
Gago,
allow you to
naging
craft
unique.
a wide range of interesting new mods onto your items. Each one may only be
Ay
used
na.
on a specific
Alam ko na
item.
paparmin ni ano.
As
Pubgun.
mentioned, the Asmarian Wisps
Ano?
can be encountered throughout the game.
Wisp?
Yun.
But there's also a new
Yung wisp na
in-game
yun.
called the
Mm.
Asmari Ranges, a mountain village where the Asmari once lived, now overrun with corrupt monsters. This map always has multiple
Bagong map
Asmarian
na.
wisps in it, and familiar, yet not quite the same boss fight. Asmarian wisps can also be further modified by the endgame atlas tree as well, and by tablets. But I'm not going to be the one talking about those things. In order to cover all the new content in in-game, I'm going to hand things over to Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. There's a ton to talk about with the endgame today, so let's dig right in. Path of Exile 2's early access began with a brand new endgame.
Hi,
It was
Mark.
clear that it needed a lot of work. After absorbing your feedback, we're ready to make some epic changes. The first thing is, we just need a lot more content. In Dawn of the Hunt, we have made sure to focus on increasing the sheer number of interesting and different encounters you will randomly stumble into as you explore the endgame. And the second goal is to smoothen the progression through maps and reduce the amount of annoying busy work.
Nilitan kaya yung
To
mapa.
start with, let's talk about the new interesting stuff to find.
Duda ako.
The most obvious thing to add are new maps. As well as the Asmeri ranges that Jonathan mentioned earlier, Dawn of the Hunt also contains 7 other new maps, all with their own custom encounters. Let's start with this one.
The Feral Megaliths map starts off in the wild Izamite forest.
Open tab. Open tab.
As you progress through the forest, you will find mysterious rune-carved stones that, when touched, surge with energy. After activating all the stones, you can find a grand henge, where all the energy is coalescing. You can then start an encounter. The area darkens, a storm moves in,
Gago,
and a
inis.
concentration of energy
Di ka
summons a
pe-
dangerous boss.
Pwedeng mag-clear lang na map.
Defeat the boss to get its rewards. Once you have defeated it, summon another,
Ah!
and another,
Ha?
and another. You have 10 total waves of boss fights which get incrementally more difficult. If you manage to defeat them, you get full
What?
boss rewards, but also opportunities to get new runes.
What?
These can only be obtained
Oy! Okay.
Okay,
Listening,
marami pala.
listening.
with surreal water
Listening.
Kala ko isa
Ito
lang.
yung kalandra,
As
pre.
you
Oh,
move around
kalandra.
the map, the terrain itself elevates from below, creating the ground you walk on. In this unique map, all the rare monsters are mirrored, so you're always fighting 2 of the same rare at the same time, which can prove quite difficult. If you manage to overcome that challenge and make it to the end of the map, you'll be presented with a broken mirror, a
Miro.
powerful altar-like object that contains an item within it. The item contained within is a new base type, either an amulet or a ring
Gagi,
that can be
simplex.
crafted to have additional prefixes or
Ano yung
suffixes
ring?
at the cost of the other. The last unique
Ayun
map
na
we'll
naman,
show
walang
today
heist.
is one based around the essence mechanic. You enter a crystalline cavern, and you will find a powerful map boss imprisoned in the center.
Sa League of Calandra?
Many rare monsters, also imprisoned in essences.
Di size.
By freeing and defeating the rare monsters, the essence they held will
Wala
be
sa
upgraded to a greater
kwento
essence
yung ano eh,
and be
heist
added
eh.
to the imprisoned map boss.
May ano,
How
essence.
brave are you? How many essences will you add to the boss? Overdo it, and you might
Ano
lose
nag-upgrade?
everything. Underdo it, and you might regret it.
Dadagdagan na nadadagdagan ng ano, yung ano.
Speaking of essences,
Yung essence.
alongside visual improvements,
Kapag-
you're now able to apply
Abang
fireworks
may
to
nilalabanan mo yung mga ano. Ay gabi, pwede ibahal yung ano.
Eh di ano lang yun,
increase the
yung
number of essences,
Oh, yung scarab na
Scarab.
or even upgrade the essences to greater essences. What if they're already greater essences? Well, it can upgrade those
Uy,
too.
Regal?
yung
We have
insanity.
4 new corrupted essences.
yung Regal?
Essence of hysteria,
Hindi, ano.
delirium, horror,
Binaal,
and
binaal.
insanity.
Each corrupted essence has its own interesting combat mechanics.
Yan na, yung
For
apat.
example, the essence of insanity causes you to question even your own mind, as monsters split into shadowy clones, and you must locate the real one before a
Tang
devastating
ina,
icy
may
explosion
mechanic
freezes
yung
everything
ano.
around it. Each of these has their
May
own
mga
crafting
mechanic.
algorithms. The essence of
Eh,
insanity
tayo na si Chimera yan eh.
it adds a mod that will ensure the next Varlorb used on the
Chimera,
will
puta.
guarantee adding 2 enchantments.
Oo!
One corruption item? One corruption gain
oo,
to
oo,
enchant.
parang
All the
ano,
essences in the unique map can also be
may
corrupted
meta
too.
mods.
If you're willing to risk it. It's worth noting we have also
Fine.
added 10 extra Atlas passive points you can earn by completing 5 different unique maps.
Pangit nun, one time usage lang yung essence.
We had a goal where we wanted to
Hindi
make sure you
spammable.
were constantly finding exciting new content, and that it could be lurking around any corner. So, we have added a bunch of new things that you could stumble into in any map you run.
On your travels, you will sometimes encounter rogue exiles.
Yun na, Rogue
Others like
Exile.
you who have been exiled and are openly hostile. Some are malicious, some are mad, while others are simply fiends for loot.
Mana wala na si Sandro Marudo.
A fight to the death. They use the same skills available to players and even the same items. They aren't just dressed up in those items, they're actually using them. It's going to feel like a true player versus player situation. Of course, if you are able to slay these exiles, those items will all drop on the ground. So if you encounter an exile
gago.
with a powerful or valuable unique item, which you can see displayed under their life bar, you want to be damn sure you kill them. Because
Sure
if they
drop
kill
ba?
you and your party, they'll
Ganun
pull
naman
out
talaga,
all their
Eli.
items with them.
Napipilter lang sa POE 1.
Completely different.
Isang
Ah.
set ang dinadrop ng Rogue Exile.
Ah,
These
di ko alam
exiles are
yun.
much smarter than your regular monster. They have capabilities to dodge roll, avoid your abilities with smart pathfinding, smart targeting, and much more action-packed gameplay.
Ayun no, nakita mo kanina naka-connect. Ayun no, may 3 dragons.
Super durable. Unless of course they're wearing
Di mo lang
unique
napapansin sa
security
POE 1 kasi
in which
naka-filter
case,
ka na eh.
expect a longer battle.
Try
There
mo
are
alisin mo
12
yung filter,
different
patay ka
exiles
Rogue
you can
Exile.
find, each with their own skills and personalities. Some may insult you, while others may admire your honor in combat.
Aalis pag binatay ka. Parang si ano.
Eh, wala ka naman nang gagawin pag namatay ka eh.
Oo nga
Ano pa
pala.
gagawin mo?
Wala nga pala yung portal dito. Ang inang laro to. Puta.
Alis na talaga siya.
Ano to?
The Ogham's Legacy Strongbox has a
Box
quartz
is
laid out
strongbox.
in front of the rune-carved stone.
Bibigay sa'yo bariya.
On interacting with the stone, you
Tangina.
activate forbidden Ezomite magic, which revives the monster as a powerful rare.
Contains no other
The
items.
strongbox comes with a
Fallen
modifier,
months
which
additional
determines how many
modifier.
times it will
Standard
revive that
provided.
rare. Each time you defeat the monstrosity, the strongbox revives it again, adding an extra modifier to the monster. With each resurrection, it becomes more difficult, but also more rewarding. This strongbox is infused with thaumaturgy from ancient Faal technology. Eshel's Torment has a powerful artifact inside, and is guarded by Chaos itself. Defeating the monsters will grant you a unique item, with a specific corrupted outcome. You'll have to find the other two for yourself, to see what they
Gago
do.
yung Scarab na ano.
Now, let's talk about the
Ano
intricate
lang
Uy,
ba?
gagi may parang Arcanis.
Upon starting the endgame, Doriani tasks you with cleansing corruption to help restore the land. However,
Maganda mag-farm ng
in
corrupted
practice,
ng
the
Balchis.
quest objective just sent you on a grind
Farm ka
to
na naman ng
clear
double
15
corrupt na
maps.
unit.
We wanted to make the quest to unlock
Gotcha.
your Atlas passives much more interesting.
Now, Doriani is tasking you with a more specific objective. On the Atlas, you will find areas of corruption caused by the beast. In the center of each one, you will find a corrupted nexus, the source of the affliction. In the areas leading up to the nexus, you will notice that corruption spills out from slain enemies and amalgamates into powerful monsters. Corrupted maps existed on the Atlas before, but we've done significant work on improving these monsters.
Gagi.
We've also done a full pass on the modifiers on these maps to make them more interesting and more rewarding. Once you reach the Nexus, you will have a new task: cleanse the source of corruption. When you defeat the last rare in those maps, they will spawn one of 3 terrifying bosses.
Tang ina.
Amalgamations of
Ubus rare
corruption
pa
itself.
rin.
After defeating that boss, Doriani will come and cleanse the corruption for good. As the remains of the boss are purged of corruption, it coalesces into raw crystallized power, which you can use to gain points for your Atlas passive skill tree. The upgrade system that allows
What?
you to add and enhance content in your maps. We didn't stop there though. When you complete a corrupted nexus, all of the remaining surrounding corrupted maps will become cleansed maps. Cleansed maps also have new monsters, a new boss, and their own set of modifiers and rewards, including finding fracturing orbs by slaying cleansed enemies.
Gagi. Fracturing orb.
These orbs can be used in crafting on a rare item to cause one of its modifiers to become
Say enemies.
fractured. A fractured modifier is one that
Fractured.
cannot be modified by any means. You are able to freely
Nag-fractured.
modify the item, ensuring the fractured modifier will never change. If you get
Okay,
the
so may
right
fracture
item
na.
with the right mod,
May crafting na.
it can prove to be a very
Oh.
powerful crafting base indeed. You must now choose. Do you complete all the corrupted maps and then the Nexus? Or maybe you beeline to the Nexus, complete it, and do all the remaining maps cleansed. Both have rewards to entice you and challenges to assess.
Now, let's have a talk about towers.
One thing we've had a lot of feedback on is the busy work around running towers and managing your tablets. The first change we've made here is that we have reduced the number of
Oh,
towers
yeah.
drastically. so there are now 1/3 as many as before, but we've made them much more powerful.
Pinalaki yung
To
ata yung
start
tower.
with, tablets now inherently add twice as many mechanics. But that's not all. Running
Konting
higher
towers.
towers now increases the number of mechanics applied by tablets. By tier 15, the bonus is double, allowing a single tablet to now add 4 times as many mechanics as before. So, we're running far fewer towers, dealing with fewer tablets, and affecting even more maps than before. But because there are fewer towers overlapping with each other, you won't get as many opportunities to stack different tablets. In order to solve this, we've made it so that each tower can consume up to 3 tablets at once.
Nice.
You always get 1 slot on completing the tower, but if you can complete a tower with more mods on the waystone, you can unlock a 2nd or 3rd slot. Overall, this
Ay,
allows for even more
uulit-ulitin
juicing
mo
from
pa
towers,
rin.
while drastically reducing the amount of busy work you have to do.
Okay na, hindi ka alis sa
Towers are
area.
much more interesting maps because they can now spawn with all
Oo nga, pero
including
ganun din eh.
bosses. Each tower
Hindi,
map
ang
has a
maganda
new boss.
dun, ang
Let's
hirap
take a
kasi
look
dun
at a
sa map
couple
na
here.
lumalayo
The
ka
boss
ng
fight of the
lumalayo.
Alpine Ridge map has 2 powerful
Bagay.
Ngayon
weapons
maganda
that
dun,
test
laki
the
nung
potential.
range, andun ka lang, ikot-ikot ka lang.
One which has an affinity for ice, the other fire.
Gago, ano to?
Who will win? Hopefully neither. The boss of the Sinking Spire map is a remnant of the Val that has been charged with lightning. It uses
Ah,
a
gago,
full
parang
suite
yung
of
ano,
lightning abilities.
bago mag,
Careful.
yung bago
Any
mag
of
ano.
them hit the surrounding
Yung
constructs,
unang
they will blow up.
unique boss.
Another thing that we've
Ay,
seen a lot
pangalawa
of feedback
pala.
about is sustaining waystones. As we looked into it, we realized that the people who couldn't sustain waystones were dying a lot. A lot more than we had expected. And that made us realize something. During the campaign, the expectation is that you can die multiple times in order to learn how to overcome challenges. You are able to learn how the monsters behave, adapt to their skills, and eventually overcome them. But as soon as you get to the end game, you're effectively no longer allowed to die if you want to sustain waystones. By the time you are getting towards the end of endgame, we want you to have to be careful not to die. But it certainly shouldn't be that we have such a sudden shift as you run your first maps.
The first change we're making is you can now respawn and return to a map if you die.
Oh,
Continuing
yung
from
6
where you left off.
portal. Yung 6
When you
portal na.
start the endgame, you get up to 6
Nangyari?
total
Anong meron?
attempts per map.
May 6 portal
Portal
na.
na.
As
Mm.
you add more
Ulit?
modifiers to a waystone, the number of respawns goes down. This
Ah.
means that as you get to the point that you're running every waystone as a rare, you will have to be more careful.
Ah, may number of
Oo.
portal.
Depende sa mods.
In parties, everyone gets to respawn
I mean, sa
that
dami
number
ng
of
mods.
times. But we still think it's important that you can kill a boss in one go. In order to allow that to happen, we've made a change so that once you start the boss fight, it changes over to the same respawning system we use for pinnacle bosses. This means that the map owner can choose to respawn everyone at the same time. Another complaint we've seen a lot of is players not wanting to do the pinnacle content because of the experience penalty from dying. A change we've made here is that all pinnacle content now no longer grants experience, but also no longer removes experience on death either.
Mm.
Dawn of the Hunt also brings the first batch of
Oy!
Twilight Order reliquary keys
Skin!
from the early access supporter packs.
Skin!
These keys contain
Tangay
items
na.
selected by our
Dami-dami
supporters.
kong skin eh.
They can contain any unique item found in Path of Exile 2.
Balik nila yung skin ko.
If the selected item is a
Gagi,
pinnacle
may
boss drop,
reliquary,
then
pre.
only special keys dropped by this content will be able to provide these items. For example, Hand of Wisdom in action can only come from a key dropped by Zesht. We're also making a change that allows pinnacle boss uniques to drop at any difficulty. Rarer uniques will be rarer at lower difficulties, but still possible to find. This applies to the drop chances for the reliquary keys from this content as well. We spoke about towers and tablets earlier, but we have also added a suite of unique tablets. Each of these adds crazy interactions to the maps influenced by it. For example, this unique tablet allows you to run any map in a tower's radius without requiring connections, which can be quite useful for jumping gaps and
ayos.
traveling around your atlas. And this tablet causes all runic monsters spawned during expedition encounters to be duplicated. and weakens all expedition monsters that emerge from the ground. The Atlas tree has also been expanded, and you can find many of the new mechanics there, and improvements to existing ones too. Now, through this live stream, we have mentioned quite a few new crafting options that we've added.
Parang Rogue
New
Exile farming
runes,
to.
corrupted essences, fractured mods, and jewelry crafting bases. But we did have just one more crafting system to talk about: recombination. Expedition was the only in-game mechanic that was lacking a crafting system, so that needed to change. Recombination is a mechanic that might be familiar in some ways. It allows you to merge two items together, hoping to get the best
Nice.
elements of each on a single new item.
Expedition.
This new crafting benefit
More reason
unlocks
to
as you complete your
expedite.
first expedition, and requires artifacts found during expeditions to fill.
Mabibenta kaya yun?
The rarer the mods on the
Pang
item you are
recombi.
combining, the more expensive the cost.
That wraps up all the major in-game changes we're talking about today. With all the system changes and new
Onesie.
content,
Onesie
it's time to
recombi.
get in
Yeah.
there, start blasting maps, and obliterating monsters. There is one more thing we wanted to clarify before we move
That's
on.
true with
which is that
idols.
all the content we've talked about
Future.
today will be made available in the existing early access leagues, so you can play your existing characters. However, there will be new leagues made for those who wish to start in a fresh economy. It's recommended to start
Huh?
over and get the full new experience in the Dawn of the Hunt leagues.
Okay, new league.
For all our existing early access players, we're really looking forward to joining you playing in this new update.
New league nga.
For those who don't already have access and are
Ay,
interested in
maniwala
playing
ni
Path of
Alan eh.
Exile 2, Dawn of the Hunt, you are able to at any time purchase an early access supporter pack at www.pathofexile2.com. Additionally, the Paladin and Penance supporter packs are now available to purchase.
Tingin ko ano eh,
Path of Exile
pinasok
2.
na nila yung
They
ano eh.
contain 6
Karuwi
microtransactions
Elemancer.
each, and
Pinakita
the full
kanina
pack's
eh.
face value in
May
points.
tornado.
All the microtransactions contained
Ano
within these
yun?
packs are purely cosmetic
Yung skin
and
ko.
do not affect your
Ah.
character's power or progression in any way.
Gagi pre,
Thank
yung
you so much
Basta
for your
here
ongoing
eh.
support. We're
Race
just about
course.
to start the Q&A with Ziggy D.
Pwede
Race
na
course.
sa...
With
Oh.
release at the end of next week, our
May
community
karera.
team will be posting crucial information you'll need for the release. Keep an eye on the news. On release weekend, we expect to launch the new mystery box and many new microtransactions, including Path of Exile 2's first alternate skill effects. Thanks for joining us today and checking out our latest developments. We're looking forward to playing the Huntress, trying new builds, and
Ano?
exploring the new in-game next week.
Yes.
We'll begin the Q&A shortly, so
Alternate
please get your
ano?
questions ready.
Skill
Hindi ko
MTX.
narinig. Hindi ko narinig.
Skill MTX. Mahina.
Oh, oh.
Yes, that's right, that's right. Yeah, so we actually last night had a bit of a design session and realized that we weren't actually fully happy with the way that recombination worked. So we actually made quite a big change to it, which wasn't reflected in that video, obviously, which is basically that we sort of wanted to give a bit more control to the player over how recombination works. And we also kind of weren't really happy about the fact that recombinations is something that like kind of matters a lot for really, really ultra in-game players. But it wasn't something that was really mattering a lot for like the people who effectively got access to the content from the start. So we've actually changed it now so that the way it works is that you pick which mods you want on the each item from each item, and then it gives you a percentage chance of success based on the number you pick. So if you pick just like one from one and one from the other, then the chance is much higher. But if you pick like if you pick 6 mods, it'll become practically impossible. So effectively, you know, like the more you're wanting to design the item, the less of a chance of actually having success. So it means that if you just want to get like a mod, if you want to get an item with like okay, these 2 mods that I found off the ground, that's you know, relatively easy. If you want to get an item which has, you know, yeah, all of them, then very hard. So we think that's a much better design because it means you can kind of use the recombinators actually become something that you can use even from a relatively from the first point you get them. But there's still this kind of end game, like, you know, like for perfect stuff, you might still be able to do it with more. It is kind of balanced though, so that like if you pick literally all 6, then it's going to be like incredibly low to the point of like don't even try that. But you know, like 4 mods might be a good thing to sort of be striving for, that kind of thing, and then exalt the other 2, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the new design of that. So hopefully that'll be in by the time 0-2 comes out. We've kind of got a plan for doing that. But yeah, like I think it's a much better design than what we had before for Recombinators.
If it's not there for 020, it'll be
Yeah,
as
very
soon as it
soon.
can afterwards.
Very soon,
But
yeah.
yeah, you know, spur of the moment, night before the live stream design sessions.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Been a few of those.
increased player agency and visibility into the success result is just a win. And honestly, took way too long to, you know, get to the point of us actually going, "Oh, this is just straight up better to have observability into that and the freedom of choice." So,
Sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. Recombination definitely felt like something that was both really high end in terms of the crafting that it was intended for, but also just even.
You just take what you want.
So it does sound like something the very high end.
It might end up being, but I'm not like, it sort of depends how the numbers come out. Because we only just designed this, we need to still work out like exactly how the numbers end up looking. But I mean, look, we have to make sure. Obviously, whenever we're designing any crafting system, we have to be really sure that we're not like screwing over finding stuff on the ground. So you know, you have to sort of have that balance, and that's, you know, so that kind of informs everything we do with crafting usually.
one difference here, though, of course, is if the success chance fails.
A fair and
both-
honest
both
review
items
for
are
Macau
destroyed as
Imperial
opposed to
Tea
always keeping
Philippines
one.
and High.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
So it's
Whether
basically
or
percent
not
chance
that's
for success, and if it fails, item's gone. So
What,
yeah.
roughly, what do you think you try to pitch just choosing 2 mods at? Like,
It depends on what mods you're selecting, but I'm kind of thinking kind of like 35%-ish kind of thing for like 2 normal mods, that kind of thing.
For them both
Like
to
for them
go
both,
over?
yeah, for them both. For if you pick 2,
Yeah.
and then you know, but we'll
it
see.
kind of depends. Again,
It kind of depends. We'll see how we have to do
higher
some
tier
mathing.
mods are rare, and
Yeah, exactly. So it sort of
it
depends on the
also
situation.
the other thing is it's going to now have a fixed cost, so it's not gonna
Yeah.
you know,
And the idea is
go
like,
up based on
yeah, and the idea is like doing a single expedition should be enough to do a recombination. So you know, you're going to be doing them like relatively often as you're doing expeditions.
so is the part of Expedition where you get to craft with the NPCs still a thing then? Now that you're adding this?
Yeah, I mean, you've still got that whole mechanic, and like, so it's effectively it's competing for the artifacts.
Yeah.
Between recombination versus buying things from that other way.
So is there some buffs intended for that then to make it more competitive?
not
with-
yet. It definitely needs some love in the future, but not at this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like the systems can kind of go hand in hand, where one is giving you items that you can then potentially recombinate.
That is also true. You can use the ingredients of one in the other, or the outcome of one as an ingredient in another. Yeah.
Cool. We'll talk more about crafting a little bit later on for sure, because there was a lot announced there, which I'm quite excited about. Definitely exceeded my predictions for what you'd be adding in terms of crafting. But firstly, though, just a quick clarification on the league. So there's not going to be a wipe for the new players joining us.
Right.
If you were playing on a character, you can still keep playing on a character. But a lot of long-term Path of Exile players know the importance of playing on a fresh start, and that's also really important for you guys as well.
For
right?
sure, yeah. I mean, basically, if we don't have like any character that's
What?
come from before, you're just not gonna like, because the balance is so different and because so many things have changed. There's like no point in even listening to feedback for someone who's playing in the old league. Like, it really has to be that you're doing the fresh start, and we're sort of seeing how things go in the new economy. So like, we were really sort of, it was kind of an interesting decision about whether or not we should have sort of all the content as exclusive. Or rather, like, what amount of content would be exclusive to the league versus not. And the issue that we had is that, so I mean, like, a league means something in Path of Exile. You know, like, in order for something to rise to the level of a league, it needs like a certain amount of features. And the original thing we were thinking about doing that way would be the Asmeri and Wisps. But there wasn't quite like the kind of like meta mechanics and, you know, stuff with that. So like, we didn't quite rise to the level of feeling like it deserved to be a challenge league. And at the same time, we've also got a lot of new players playing Path of Exile 2 who never played Path of Exile before. So we're a little bit, like, we kind of were deciding, like, okay, should we make them exclusive or not? We sort of decided, you know what, for this one, we're not going to. And then what we'll probably try and do is for the next, league that we do, we'll actually make it a proper challenge league with like its own exclusive mechanic and so on. But yeah, it's a little bit funny because like in early access is a bit of a different situation, you know, like, and yeah, we'll sort of see how this goes anyway. But certainly I would encourage everyone just like start again on a new character, and I think you'll have a much better time because obviously if there's structural changes to the passive tree. It's like if you log in with your old character, you're going to have like your tree's going to get reset. You have to do stuff. There's things like that are going to happen that mean that and also just balance changes, right? Like huge numbers of them. So you're going to have a better time playing from the start.
That's it. And speaking of the Huntress, then, so we saw initial Huntress quite some time ago now and had some hands-on time with it. But I certainly, having played that before and played it now recently, the Huntress has changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
So what was the, how hard was it to get it ready for release? What was kind of the key there?
I mean, it's funny because class design is one of those things where every time you add something, it can make you reevaluate everything else, which is why it's so hard to predict like how long a class will take. So like it changed a lot since the last time we had like we were showing Huntress, and honestly, like it's like while there are some skills that you will still see, like it just plays completely different. And I mean, whenever we're looking at like how we're going to design something like this, it really comes down to like what is it's the special about the character class, like how can we double down on that to make sure it feels different. So with the Huntress, you've obviously got spears as a base type. The key difference between a spear and any other weapon type is that you can both use them at melee and you can also use them at range. You can throw them, and so because of that, we really were just really trying to incentivize everything possible so that you use both of those things. And action RPG players, they generally speaking, the balance can often be such that you only really want to do one thing and do that one thing well. So trying to incentivize the kind of ranged and melee is quite a thing. And I mean, the way we do it effectively is try to make sure that like there are combo chains where a ranged thing can combo with something that's melee and a melee thing can combo with something that's ranged, and then also give you good abilities to move between the two states. And so that kind of means that you end up with a very like agile character, like you're constantly moving like backwards and forwards and kind of moving around. And I would say that like given that it's the Dex character, that it's good that it feels that way, that it feels the most agile of all of the melee character classes. So that's been a really good one. But I mean, look, there are, in terms of changes, I mean, look, there are just changes all the time. Like the frenzy charge thing was like relatively late in development. Like there's like quite a lot of things going on that just meant that the field kept on evolving. And another big one, of course, was parry, which I honestly was very skeptical of working. And Mark, Mark was the one who saved it. Honestly, like I was like, you know what? There was like 3 times I think where I was like, you know what? I don't think it's gonna work. And then you were like, okay, I think we're gonna save this.
I was like, give me a week.
Yeah, exactly. And it works completely differently for most games, because in most games, obviously, with parrying, the way that works is that you have to time like to push the block button at exactly the right time. But that's just something that just wouldn't work in our combat system because you're often packs of monsters. It's just like you don't really have the ability to read combat in that way in our game. And at the same time, we need to make something where there's going to be like if a single monster in a pack hits you, you need to be able to respond to that with something that's going to you need to be able to respond in a way where you don't just then immediately get hit by a bunch of other stuff.
Yes.
So having it so that the parry, like it always parries, but it's then taking advantage of what the parry does to the monster by following up with something that's going to give you like an explosion or something like that to kind of deal with the pack. That's something that sort of allows that counter gameplay to work in our game. So you've kind of got 2 primary parry follow-ups. You've got the frenzy charge one, which dashes back, which means that you don't have to worry about the monsters hitting you. And then you've also got the one that there's another one which I don't believe we showed there, which called Fangs of Frost, which does a counter where you attack with ice, which freezes the pack. So it's another way to kind of, so in both cases you've kind of got something that's kind of dealing with the fact that you've got all these monsters around you, and that was kind of the biggest challenge I think that we had with that.
Yeah, I'll also make note of there was a support gem I found that you can attach to any attack that allows you to follow up parry to generate a frenzy charge too. So it doesn't even have to be the backflip.
Yeah, in that case. Yeah, there's other,
create your own parry.
Yep, and then of course there's always Sniper's Mark, and there's like there's a skill that does give you a guaranteed crit, so that's a potential option as well. Like you've got a few different ways to generate them.
Because parry guarantees a light stun.
Yep.
You always get that small window to actually engage or do a thing before you're under danger again.
And I'll tell you this, like, I am one of those players who never parry, right? In any game ever, because I can never do it. It's always just so frustrating. So I was very skeptical of that, but it feels really good. You've both managed to make it something that's easy to do because you can just hold the button down and
Yeah.
parry at any time. There's no skill involved in that.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you've incentivized making it so that you do want to still try and time it as best you can personally. By well, how have you done that? How have you made it so that like you actually still want to kind of play it skillfully?
Well, I mean, ultimately, you know, anytime you're holding down the parry button is when you're not attacking, right? So you still
Exactly.
want to kind of minimize the window, but at the same time, like the timing is just not like, you know, not as bad. But the nice thing as well is that like once you do successfully parry, it's very obvious. You get the sound, you get the like the
So
token on the
chunky.
monster. It's very chunky.
Yeah.
So you know, it means it's very obvious when you're supposed to counterattack. So yeah, I'm very happy with that. I think that it came out really well. And honestly, one of the funny things about it is that it immediately made me realize like how bad shields are in
Yes.
comparison, which is why we're also trying to ninja in a change to how shields work at the last minute, which we'll see if it makes it into 020. I was playing around with it last night.
Yep, this
and,
was 8 p.m. last
yeah,
night.
Yeah, 8
at
p.m. last
Jonathan's.
night, exactly.
Yeah,
I was
messing with this.
Yeah, messing around with it. And so, you know, I won't talk too much about how that's going to work, but effectively we want to make shields, you know, the shields better as well, and kind of build something into those to make them more interesting. So yeah, that's the plan there. We'll see if it makes it for 020.
Yeah, following that kind of similar design space idea of being able to do a bit more with it.
Yeah,
And then that
100%.
feed into other skills and things like that as well. So there's a lot of room there to play with.
Yeah.
So we talked about Huntress being very, very combo heavy, and she has the deepest combo chains out of anyone so far, even exceeding like things you can do with Monk. You've got 3-4 different skills deep of things you can start to synergize together. So how do you balance? How do you make that fun? Firstly, like rather than like onerous, for example.
Well, I mean, I guess there's a few things. Like one of them is it just has to be very readable and understandable when, like, you know, like what you can do and when you can do it. And I think the other thing that's really to our advantage here is reusing skills in multiple ways, so that you can make a deeper combo chain without requiring you to be using as many skills in order to do it. So the way that Whirling Slash and Tornadoes interact with ground effects and kind of like all that stuff sort of means that, you know, you're using Whirling Slash multiple times as part of the same combo chain. And that's an idea, I think, that I'd like to try and explore more, because I think that it is a cool way to kind of extend the combo chain, yeah, as I said, without sort of getting too many things involved, and that makes it a lot cooler. So yeah, I'll think a bit more about, you know, how we can apply that to other classes and other skills, but yeah, it's worked out really well here.
Yeah, it's a bit of like a loose create your own combo system in a way. Like obviously there's intended combos, but because it's interacting with something that's fundamental like ground effects, you're able to combo with anything that creates a ground effect. And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. Like I added shocked ground to the backflip skill, or I got a companion pet that had a shocked ground aura.
Nice.
As like that was just there and that was available all the time.
I mean, it's funny as well because it also works on just enemy ground effects, and so sometimes you can just get a damage boost because the rare just happened to be dropping ground fire or something. So that's kind of fun. Yeah. But it's been it's just a lot of fun to play. You know, the first time I ran into that was actually in the graveyard, where there's these like chests that like pop open with fire, and like I was using tornadoes, and then one of them just randomly turned into a fire tornado, and I'm like, oh, what happened there? Oh, yeah, sweet. It was just like a really cool moment where it just sort of interacted with the environment, which was really fun.
It always feels like you're getting a little bit of something extra for free
Yes,
when you're
yes.
taking advantage of the enemy effects, or a boss fight that just has burning ground everywhere. It's like sweet. So how do you go about balancing though when you have a class that has deeper combos and
Well,
kind
see,
of somewhat requires you to do a bit more versus a class or a skill or a build that is just bonk?
I mean, you have to ultimately
Fuck
make the combos
this
matter,
shit.
right? And I think actually that's one of those things that we're trying to really focus on with the balance changes we're doing in Dawn of the Hunt more generally, is making sure that even, like, I think it's the case where some of the combo gameplay kind of degenerates a little bit by end game in a way that, like, I want to make sure it still feels rewarded. And so we were sort of doing various checks, you know, like recently about, you know, like as a random example, right? Like, so on the Mercenary, we found that doing, you know, but when you get to end game, doing armor break, what's it called? The armor piercing that causes armor break, followed with high velocity rounds, is just worse than just using high velocity rounds. And that's like really bad, right? Like we have to make sure that we're improving that stuff. So it's like sometimes you just get these things where like the balance by endgame kind of degenerates in a way that that doesn't support the combo anymore. And so we have to make sure that when we're looking at buffing things, that we're like making sure that when we're doing it, it's to support the fact that using more things is actually a good thing. Yeah, we're really trying to make sure that we're bringing some of that, you know, improving some of that stuff as well as we're doing the balance changes.
So do you have like a baseline there of where like the really simplest build should be, the build that just bonks? Like,
I mean, you mean in terms of damage or in terms of like what it does? You know, I mean, we always want
I
you'd
guess
be
the
able
players,
to build that way.
the
But
players have to do a combo.
I mean,
like,
no.
for people who don't want
Ultimately,
to.
you never have to, right? But it
Yeah.
sort of what it means is that you know, you are sacrificing something. And look, the ideal situation is that like you don't feel like you have to do combos. You feel like you want to do combos, right?
Yes.
Like, because you feel rewarded for them. It's like should
That's
feel
it.
like a fun, like, oh, I can add this. You know, like it's the feeling you should be getting.
Yeah. I think the Huntress is doing that very well. Must have been like extremely hard because I don't think I've ever seen this like ranged melee combo done well before.
Right. Well, I mean, it does require a lot of discipline, and it means that a lot of skills like end up on the cutting room floor because you try them out and then you realize, well, if this is in the game, then that's the only thing I'm ever going to do. So you got to be really careful about that stuff.
Certainly playing the Huntress now makes me go back and look at the other classes and be
Yes.
like, we need to up that the level there, and we missed the mark a little bit now because this is better. And who's to say the next class won't even be better and make us question even this? But
Sure.
you know,
But that's the way it is with class design.
that's
It's
what he
just
says when we
always-
like
Yeah.
literally when you make a new class, you question everything. He's
Right,
not
right.
understating the level of
yeah.
questioning everything.
Yeah, do you see like going back to the monk at some point and looking for more like opportunities to link skills together with
I mean,
combos
we
and
haven't got to the full skill set for any class yet already,
Yes,
and we need
true.
to add more pieces
Because
for
I
a lot.
think there's at least 4 skills that were designed and enhanced in the monk currently. Just the,
Yep,
you know,
range are the same. There
Yeah,
was
yeah.
extra poison skills. It was tended to be more chaos dots. There's all kinds of stuff. We have to obviously at some point fill all that in. Hard to say when, but we're going to try and incrementally get it like much like how Ray Spectre and I mean the mount works with the Huntress, but we were like, let's give something for the Ranger this time. Let's give something for the summoners out there this time, and so we're just going to keep filling in those gaps over time.
And it feels like you're getting better at class and skill design as you go too. So I imagine the last class you're going to release is going to be like amazing. You'll look back at the first ones and be like, ooh.
possibly.
Well, that is the worry, but whatever. That
But look, with that just means we've got another round of going through
Yes,
everything
yeah.
and improving
Yeah.
stuff again, right? So
and that will never end.
That's it. So with the parry came the kind of looking at the player getting stunned, in particular player heavy stun. So
Yep.
it's always hard to tell players like, hey, we're going to do something to you and it's going to be a bad thing. You're not going to like this.
Well, the funny
So
thing,
let's talk about why.
there's a few things like that actually, because so I mean, for a start, like we needed the downside of parry to be you know, like that, yeah, you get stunned out of it. But then when we're looking at how long, like we're like, okay, right now, even, and it's true with shield block as well, by the way. It's like if you get stunned out of that, the amount of time that you get stunned out for is actually not even enough time for most bosses to do a follow-up attack on you. And it's like, well, where's the downside if it doesn't even have enough time? So we did have to extend that out a little bit, and it makes you a little bit more careful. But in just to warn people, right? There's a few other things like we lowered what's it called, the I can't remember the name of that thing now. The thing that makes you more easy to the elemental statuses apply to you. Ailment threshold. That's right, ailment threshold. Yeah. So we lowered ailment threshold to actually make it so the player has those mechanics happen more to them, right? Because like right now through campaign, like you barely get frozen or burning or shocked, really, to be honest. So there's stuff like that we've had to do to kind of make sure that you know, that because if you don't have that stuff actually happen to you, then there's no point in mitigating it. And it's like, you know, things like charms were like not very useful because, you know, those mechanics weren't happening to you. There's stuff like that, right? The downsides do actually matter in order to make it so that, you know, that you then, you know, there's other things you can do to sort of bypass those downsides. So yeah, that's kind of one of those things that, you know, we just have to make sure is there.
I did always find it a little bit strange that like I was able to count the number of times I was frozen in the campaign on one finger.
For sure. For sure. For sure. But
And
yeah,
it's always by those vile ghosts.
yes.
So expect a little bit more, like a little bit more danger from the stun. I definitely died a couple times to getting heavy stun.
Yeah, it can
So
happen.
that's mostly occurring if you're like doing bad blocking or parrying, but can it also occur just from like taking a really big hit or something?
At least we've discussed that. We've gone through a whole bunch of different like. Should certain boss abilities heavy stun you, and if you spec into enough stun threshold, it like demotes it to a light stun, and if that, you know, there's all kinds of multi-hour discussions we've had, and we haven't really come to anything conclusive there. But it's only from mount, raise shield, and parry, and of which, you know, at least for all of them, you can see your stagger bar filling up. It's worth noting things like evasion apply to. So when you're parrying, we turn off your evasion from taking damage because the block does, right? And otherwise you'd be like, I'm going to parry it. Oh, I evaded it. It didn't parry. But you can evade the stagger build up, so you don't take the damage anyway. Just
So
before
the evasion
anyone
still
misunderstands
works.
that.
The evasion still works.
Yeah.
So high evasion will mean you can parry for longer.
There's a bunch of parry stuff on the tree, including damage affecting the debuff, the duration of the debuff, so you get to benefit for it longer. Reducing stagger is all over the place for both mount and so in the dex section of the tree.
Ito.
So yeah, you can mitigate. I mean, my expectation is probably you'll get some endgame builds that are just like I can parry forever. Like, there's no real consequence. So. Not every skill can be parried, of course.
Yeah, it otherwise follows the slam rules. If it's a slam from above or below, you can't parry it. Much to your frustration for some
Yes,
things.
I mean there are a few things where I've got disagreements about what looks like
Yeah.
it's parryable, but
My hopeful there was when it's contentious, people would bring it up and would change it, right?
Sure.
So like, if it's on the line, it's meant to be blockable. Like, if it isn't clear, and there was no way with hundreds of monsters and many dozens of bosses that we weren't going to miss some things.
So you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but action RPGs kind of naturally pull you towards one damage type, one skill, one specific thing optimizing as much as possible, because otherwise you're just making a bad build a lot of the time. But I notice Huntress has a bit of everything. She's got bleed, she's got all the elements, she's got physical. The only thing she doesn't have is like chaos, but there's kind of poison on the tree right there. So how do you like promote this, like all of this different stuff together? Are you supposed to only kind of be relegated to using 2 or 3 skills, or are these supposed to come together, and how do you manage that?
well, there's a few things. So one of them is that we provide a lot of combos with the expectation that you'll probably be focusing around like a few specific things rather than necessarily using the whole tree. So like there's that. The other thing as well is just making sure that in the passive tree there's sort of options that go across both. So the Huntress's passive tree has quite a lot of things like extra melee damage if you've done a ranged attack recently. And then it's got things like bonuses against blinded enemies because while you're in a whirling slash, there's so it's sort of stuff like that where we're trying to carefully think like, well, how can we come up with something that's interesting and buffs everything that you might want to be doing, that kind of synergizes with the stuff that the Huntress can do. But it is honestly hard because like many categories of things only matter for one thing part of a combo. So it's just like trying to come up with categories that can somehow span all of them in different ways. And ideally we can achieve that. But yeah, it is pretty hard.
Generally, you're going to become more niche or more selective because, again, even mixing elemental and bleed is just probably often going to result.
You
in
probably
something
wouldn't do both elemental and bleed. You'd probably choose one or the other. But that's why we kind of try to make sure that, like, so you've got sort of linkages between them, though, right? Because it's like, for example, the thunderous leap detonates the spears that you do from the bleed thing. So it's like kind of like the idea there is to like it changes how that skill then has a use in the combo with the other one. So even if that skill itself isn't doing a lot of damage, it's triggering something that's taking advantage of all the damage bonuses you got for the for your bleed stuff. So that's kind of like the idea, is just to link all that stuff in a bit so that you can use the non like directly synergistic things in a kind of more synergistic way.
Yeah, that's if you didn't see that from the earlier trailer, it's you spear them with a bunch of spears and then jump on them, explodes them for bleed. Amazing. So, but yeah, that's using an elemental skill like in another way as a detonator. But and even more, you've got weapon swaps as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's all those systems we already added about all that kind of stuff. So I mean, like, what will be interesting is whether or not we miss something cross-class, right? That's always a concern. Is someone will come up with some way to abuse something, between something that's going on in the spear skills with some other class that we failed to consider.
Yeah, I mean, so that's it. When we look at a new class, we typically like call it like, Huntress is spears, but kind of not really. It's their signature weapon, but
absolutely.
Nothing in the ascendancies prescribes spears.
Exactly. So effectively, we take great pains to make sure that the ascendancies never mention weapon types, so that there's like that they're always generalized. So, for example, the like infusion mechanic in the Amazon, it just says projectiles, it doesn't say spears, and the reason it does that is so that you could make an Amazon who is a bow user, and that's all fine.
Wow.
So yeah, like it's effectively like
Anong sabi?
it's open-ended, and honestly, like I know that Mark like does like. It makes the constraint a lot harder for how to design an ascendancy class if you have to think about it that way, for sure.
Oh, it'd be much
What
easier
the
to
fuck
just put a
is
bunch
this?
of cool spear stuff in there, but now only really. I mean, it was similar to the
fuck
original
are you trying
POE
to
1
do?
Saboteur, called out traps and mines, and so if you're a trap and mine character, what are you doing? Well, you could do something else, but no one else is playing that. It isn't. It is easier to design. It is certainly less flexible and open as to what people can play in the different combinations of that. So yeah.
How much do you have to consider the different weapons and the skills and how they interact together when you're originally designing them, or is there just literally so many possible combinations you're just like, the players will take care of that for us?
I mean, I think it is relatively impossible to come up with everything, but certainly we have to consider, like, is this going to be broken with anything else in particular? and there just has to be certain rules for things about like how easy is it to apply this
Parang
debuff,
baliktad to.
how easy it is to consume this debuff, and even then it's like we often make mistakes and have issues.
Who the
When
fuck
he says
wrote
relatively
this?
impossible, it is actually.
Actually.
But I mean, yeah, I mean,
That's
just
relative.
but even just looking at the balance pass we're doing at the moment, right? I mean, there's hundreds of things like that, that we still. I mean, there's things that we could never honestly understand all the different broken things that could possibly exist, and so it's like it really does depend a lot on the like on seeing reports and what people are doing on some level, right? But then I think that what will happen over time is that obviously, like, the game's still relatively new. We're still making relatively big changes. Over time, the balance, I think, will get to the point where we no longer have these like crazy outliers to the same extent. It should mean that we get to some sort of relative class parity. By parity, what I mean is like people playing all the different classes rather than focusing only on a few as we get towards full release. Because right now it's obviously very skewed because there's certain broken things. So we just the balance over time we'll get there.
It's one of the main goals and benefits of the early access. Is just like let's get the balance of characters right. And this patch. Release was always going to have 1,000 problems, or probably 10,000 problems, The next one will have half that, the next one half that, and probably eventually it's going to be down to like, here's only a few things going, out of whack. There's always going to be something, because we add too much content for it to even be controlled. Again, there are too many uniques, too many supports, too many skills, and too many other changes for any amount of people. Like, you're talking about a matter of you'd have to put in like thousands and thousands of hours internally to find it and then you give it to the players. There's so many people, it's going to take literally 5 minutes. So it's very beneficial. We're lucky in that regard that we get that level of testing and feedback and on such a mass level, and especially with things like Ninja and all of that, and other people being able to see it and discuss it more openly. We're just going to be able to iterate on it even faster. But yeah, every single patch you're going to see a pretty substantial change in what's going to happen here. Yeah.
Thanks for making the broken builds.
Well, 100%.
I mean, you mentioned support gems. It's like over 100 support gems added just this patch. It's already like so many, and with you doing a different weapon for each of the 16 classes.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot by the time we're done. But there kind of has to be, right? Because
that's what you made it. You made this system that you need so many supports to support.
You do.
Because otherwise, it's not going to work. Like especially with this one support system, it's like. What have you guys done?
Well, I mean, look, this is why we have recommendations, and hopefully we can improve those as well and continue to get that better.
There's certainly room for the complexity to get a little bit out of control here. So the recommendeds are going to become more and more important.
Right.
So we need to make sure those are very much right.
Sure.
You must be looking to players even to find some of those recommendations down the line as well.
In some cases.
What stuff is popularly getting
But
used.
the thing with the recommendations though is that they can't really take into account what you've already got on the gem. So the recommendations have to be just sort of generally good, but not really take into account combos. That kind of means they're a bit more simple. Like the recommendations are going to be more simple than what you'd otherwise be doing if you're.
Feels like at some point you're going to need some sort of nested recommendation system. It's like, well, I'm kind of doing bleed stuff, so you go to the sub menu for bleed recommendations.
I'm less certain about that because I kind of don't want to get into the thing of actually telling you what your build should be. That's a little different there.
Maybe like more sorting methods for the show me all the gems. Oh, because there's a lot that are only in there that are never recommended, right? At this point.
There are, yes, there are.
It's going to be an interesting challenge you guys have set yourselves to make enough supports there. So another thing that you a challenge that you set yourselves, and I always wonder like, why did you do themselves with specters? So really those were planned to be informed, but obviously specters are a whole can of worms. It's hey, let's just give players access to every monster. Also, we've made
1 week ka na nun.
Yeah.
We're talking about all the broken. There's going to be some broken in there, I promise you. And there's going to be some stuff we have to change.
Napagbuka na hotel.
They've done, but I mean, effectively, what the time between early access and this
napagbuka na,
was like,
di pa.
let's actually attempt at least to do a balance pass of this and like see if there's anything that's going to be a problem and then adjust numbers.
But now you've got to account all those support gems on all those monsters.
Yes, well this is an interesting thing, which support gems work on them. And like what the hell is that going to
Layo na nga nung mabuk na.
Like it's impossible to completely know.
Pero maganda doon kasi mall yung baba.
There's probably definitely some dark secrets lying in what kind of spectre mixed with support gems are going to do.
And monsters have skills now. It's not like POE 1 where it's like
Exactly.
just a bunch of zombies just doing default attack. It's just, like everything pretty much has a skill now at this point. So
But you know, the great thing about it is we got to leverage all that work again for the beast taming as well. So and of course the difference there is that you also get the mods from the thing that you tamed. So you know, that's going to be
auras, ground effects.
yeah, exactly.
On death explosions.
No, you've got a whole nother ruckus of potential interactions. So you know, we'll see what happens there.
We've done nice specific player versions of those things specifically when you tame the beast, so that they're not sitting there spamming skills in your hideout and all of that.
Good. Yes.
But also, like, there actually are player versions of the mods that Res can get, like, so that we can balance them if we need to.
Yeah.
Because some of that stuff would be ridiculous if you had it yourself. So you know, basically, we still have it sort of work. It mostly works the same way, but there will just be numbers tweaked to the player versions, and the same works as well for the what do you call it? The ritual sacrifice. Headhunter and stuff like that. So yeah. It's player versions of the monster mods for that.
Yeah, this new attention to these things is going to benefit like the pre-existing stuff like Headhunter and that as well. Yeah, that's insane.
There's a new... probably should let people discover it. There's a new unique charm that possesses you with a random Asmiri spirit as well, and so you get the demons and the stats, and those technically also have player versions too, but actually not to necessarily make things worse, to make things better, because
Narinig mo yun?
monsters are balanced
sabi?
Term na
player
ipoposes ka.
life and monster life, not in the same universe.
Ano na?
So,
Gawin kang possess.
actually what we've done is all the things you steal that are monsters and monster skills.
Pwede naman sa
like
1
the
yun
explosions and the summoning
Oh.
beasts,
Baka sa
we actually
Atlas.
specifically balance them way up to be
Baka sa
more
Atlas
effective
ilalagay.
against monster. So when you steal them, they're much more powerful actually. Just so they're not just tickling monsters and doing 1% of their life kind of thing.
It was mentioned in chat actually, the whole like Asmeri modifiers and things on stuff that wouldn't transfer over with the companion system, surely.
No.
That would be a little bit too far. That's a bit unhinged.
We actually had to, because this is certainly a benefit. Once you have tamed the beast, it is not tradable. And people might immediately be like, oh, that's sad. Well, the issue is, and as much as you might want some of that, I'm sure you don't want to be carrying around a whole bunch of tame beasts in your inventory all the time. So that every single time you find a good rare, all of a sudden you have to go and...
Because it would mean that finding a rare would become a thing. Yes, exactly.
It's actually like this annoying, in order to make the most money, I have to be constantly thinking about and carrying around tame beasts.
But then we also made it so that as soon as you activate a beast, then no one who comes into the instance after that is allowed to tame it.
Can't do any,
so you can't TFT there's like there's a lot of thinking about that stuff in order to make it so that,
bawal.
you know,
No, sad thing to have
like
lost,
that.
but it
Yeah.
is like, no, I'm not.
I didn't even think about that. The like needing for cheat sheets and guides
exactly,
and stuff.
right.
Like,
And so you have to be really careful. You have to be so
currency
careful.
this week.
And the thing is like it's like we design this thing and then think, oh, trading beasts is going to be fun, but then you realize that the horrific reality
actually
of what it will turn into. It's like, okay, but yeah, at least we're thinking about that kind of thing. Like with more experience that we have now early, so that we don't
We've
sort of
been
run
on
into
that
those
road
problems.
before.
Exactly.
Yes, we have.
I'm glad we've learned from past issues with that sort of trading. Fantastic. So, talking about some of the other new skills, we had the addition of the Rower, which was teased quite some time ago, I think.
Yes.
But you've got it in and working now, and it looks like it's moving around pretty good.
Yes,
and
yes.
It's obviously, you've got like a big downside. If you get knocked off at heavy stun stuff, you can't use melee from it, so it's for ranged attacks.
Yeah.
But it does seem like one of those things that it's going to be like everyone's going to use or no one's going to use because it's a clear speed machine.
It is a concern. I mean, look, my ideal situation is that you're using it sometimes and not using it other times. Like, if you're using it like during clear, I think it will, like you will definitely want to. But it's like, we want to just make sure that we've got like sort of fun things like that. And like it's just a cool fantasy. Like there's stuff like that I just want to get in, and it's like look, if it doesn't work later, if we have to nerf it, I mean, sure, I suppose. But like I want something like that to exist. We believe that it is balanced as much as we can.
You sound very convinced.
It's balanced.
Well, as I said earlier, you can probably get builds that get to the point of parrying indefinitely. So you can. That means theory you can probably get to the point of riding a rower indefinitely.
Sure,
right?
sure.
Again, enough evasion and enough stagger speaking
yeah.
into and all of that.
Yeah.
Fundamental
Friday na
question,
pala
actually.
mamaya, no?
What's its move speed based on? Its
Ano
own
na?
move speed?
Friday na pala,
The move
Friday
speed is
na
just
pala
your move
ngayon.
speed. Like
Oh,
yeah, but it's
oh.
what
Without
you
the
Bakit?
but what you don't get is the penalty for when you
Of
attack.
course.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the
Yeah,
that's the thing.
like
But it's funny. It's funny though because like even though it doesn't have a move speed bonus, it feels like you're motoring when you're using it, just because of the fact you don't get that downside
Yeah.
anymore. Like you
Kaya
feel
tayo
like the
maaga
fastest
na
thing on
si
the
Is
planet.
mamaya.
It is
When you're doing
yeah, there are other like more
Tangina,
mechanical
alas 4
benefits
na.
like it's considered a companion, which is a kind of
Oo nga, no?
subclass of minion that we've added.
Sabi
Where
ko
you can only
matutulog
have
ako
one
eh.
of each one companion base is a keystone for another, but you can only have one of each type. So like you can have a tame beast and a rower with the keystone,
Oh, right, yeah.
but inherently you can only have one
Skippable
companion.
na
Right, so
yun.
you can't use a tank beast if you're using the road.
And then there are heaps of passives for like if you have a companion, like companions while they're in your presence and all that kind of stuff. Heaps of that stuff around the bottom of the tree.
Yeah, I saw you guys remade the minion damage is player damage node on the tree. It's you companion damage nodes become player damage nodes. And I was like, oh, that looks like
yes,
I'm gonna
that
take
too.
that.
Well, so that's the like companion where it's like more the mercenary servitor ranger huntress is more like you want your one powerful minion and benefiting that benefits you and you benefit it, and there's that like, synergy between you and your companions.
So since it is a companion, I like the idea of like balance wise. Maybe it ends up being that you're like map clearing on rollback, and then you get to the boss and you dismount like old school mounted knights who charge in battle and then dismount and fight.
Yep.
So if it ends up like that, that seems like that would be a
I
pretty
think
cool
that
balance
should
for
be,
it.
that should be the best way to use it, I believe.
Yeah, because then you gain access to your dodge roll for the boss fight where you need it.
Yeah.
And does the rower then kind of do a bit when you're not on it?
It can attack, but I mean it's not exactly a huge damage source or anything.
It's
like
certainly better to stay at ranged. It's not the most durable of birds.
But it acts as a distraction. Maybe
Yeah.
Support
I mean it's a
gems
minion, right? Like it
you can do
attacks
things
things
with.
and does stuff.
Yeah, you can support it with minion supports to make it more durable and all of that. So
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's the one that's like the minion takes 10% of the damage before you do. So sacrificial bird.
Yeah. True.
Poor little guy. So that sounds. I'm looking forward to playing around with that one then. Speaking of new content, 100 new uniques this time. So how many are you aiming for? Kind of in general, is this about really like filling that roster
Well,
out?
we want to have every base type have a unique for the purposes of chance.
outside of boss uniques.
Outside of boss uniques, so we want every
on
base
top
type to have a to have a unique that you can chance, and so that was the eventual goal. One of the things, of course, that we had that was sort of a problem in early access is that because of the way, because when we were designing uniques, we kind of designed them like in order from base type up, just literally because that's the way the like spreadsheets are arranged. It's like we ended up with all the low level uniques first, kind of before the high ones, and it was kind of it's like we didn't see that mistake coming. Like it was kind of stupid because
we thought we'd get
we thought we'd
way
get through
more
them all,
of
right? We were like,
so-
okay, we'll get all the uniques, and so we designed them all. It's like, okay, we'll start working on the art, just go down the list. So then we're like, oh crap, now we don't have very many in-game uniques. So this time we're like, okay, we really need to make sure that in-game uniques are a thing. There's way more of them. So the focus really is on making sure there's lots of cool stuff to find. Lots of really chase things that you can get. It's not.
You discovered the sort order changing in the
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
it does help. So effectively, like you should. This should be a lot better, and like there's lots of cool stuff there.
and we're just gonna keep going with that.
Yeah,
by the way,
of
like
course.
100 now, 100 later, 100 next. Just keep going until well, kind of honestly, we never really stop making uniques. Like especially anyone familiar with Path of Exile 1's history, is every single expansion since the dawn of time has had new uniques added to it. So there's a lot there, and there's going to be a lot here eventually as well.
So then let's talk about the idea of like players seeing a unique and be like, 1x, that's not very good. What do you guys want uniques to be in Path of Exile 2? Like, how powerful should they be? What should they be aiming to do? And how should they affect the rares in that slot?
I mean, it's always a tension because we want rares to still matter. Like, we don't want your character to be just only full of uniques. So it really is like the role can evolve. So at the start of the game, they're really supposed to be more about that. The earlier game uniques are supposed to do two things. One of them is when you find them, they should be powerful for a little while.
Yeah.
But then also they have some kind of combo thing that you might be able to do with them at end game. But we don't always know exactly what that might be. Like, I mean, we've got sort of ideas, obviously, but it's like we don't necessarily design them to say, okay, this unique definitely has like an in-game build that's going to be actually strong to do with it, and that's because you're kind of putting in things where later on some other mechanic might come along or something might happen, and then people find an interesting interaction, and that's when the unique kind of comes into its own. And I mean, that's the same as like Magic card design philosophy, that kind of stuff. You just put in like kind of weird stuff and sort of maybe
Yeah.
find something. But obviously, it can mean that like when people see a new unique, they might they dismiss it. But then one day they might also be paying vast amounts for it if it becomes a meta build. So but I feel like a game has to have that stuff in it in order to feel like there's lots of interesting ways to experiment, because like it's like the feeling of being the first person to discover some new interaction is an amazing thing, and then when people see something that like feels smart, and it's like if we don't have uniques that just take chances and do weird shit, we'll never have that kind of stuff happen. So
when we're designing a unique, we don't think about what's the value going to be.
Yeah.
We're not even coming out of it going like this is going to be really expensive or this is going to be really cheap.
Well, in
Like,
some cases,
that's-
Eh,
well,
tulog
you-
mo na
you
par.
knew what you were
Alis
doing
pa ako.
with that Herald unique.
Okay, ingat pre.
Nah, not wrong.
Ingat
Sige,
ka.
yeah.
So, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
Are you aiming for the? Honestly, there's someone said the other day they were like, it's, a successful unique is one that should be divisive, and I was like, I agree
Yeah.
for the most part, but not every unique should fill that role. Some should just be clearly this is powerful. I want it for sure. It
Yeah.
is going to be on my build.
Chase.
And others are like, what can I do with this now? And then others are just like, we don't know if anyone's going to do anything with this. Throw it in. And sometimes it doesn't get anything happen with it for 3 years. But we don't know that necessarily. It's like, let's just take an experiment and throw it in there and let the players figure that out.
Yeah, I feel like you're with a lot of these uniques, you're designing a question. You're just like, I'm going to put something that's a little weird. Maybe someone will figure that out.
Well, I think as Rishi called it, it's a puzzle piece, right?
Yeah.
It's just a piece in the puzzle. You put it there, and maybe someone will complete the puzzle or half of it. Maybe not. And then others where it's just like, yeah, this is powerful. Like,
I mean,
have it.
there are definitely some chase uniques in this.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, definitely.
So on Chase Uniques, then we've obviously had some like pretty crazy ones so far. Where do they want to be in terms of like how hard they are to get for players? Because at that point you do need to consider like how
So
expensive they end up being.
it's really tricky. So whenever we're looking, so if there's a unique that's broken, I guess there's two responses, right? One of them is make it rare enough that you only get the brokenness after the point when you're at the point where you're supposed to get that, right?
Yeah.
Which is to say, like post pinnacle boss type,
You win.
like level of character
Yes.
development, right? And then the other response would be nerf the actual unique, and it honestly is a case by case. Like I think that like Temporalis, for example, actually got nerfed in both ways. The actual unique was nerfed a little bit, I believe, although I don't believe it's maybe as much as what players might expect. But then also, okay, one over. But also, we have made that one rarer.
It's still pretty crazy.
Oh,
in
it's
the
still
rise.
crazy for sure,
Yes.
for sure, for sure. But the thing is like you want to chase stuff, right? So therefore, you don't want to just go nerfing everything into the ground the moment it's good. Therefore, that one becoming rarer, I think, was the right answer there, because it was way too common. Just due to the
We had also the issues with I mean, there were three real issues. One is Darkness at one point bypassed Honor Loss, so all of a sudden a no-hit run. It wasn't a no-hit run.
Yeah.
You had Guard bypass Honor Loss, so once again a no-hit run is not a no-hit run. And then there was just like, well, how can anything hit you if you can kill literally everything on your screen in one frame, right? So those three problems, and so as the balance issue of not everything surviving for more than one frame due to a subset of builds, and those other two things go away, it becomes a lot rarer in itself.
I mean,
it is much harder to acquire, require like very specific and ideally high skill gameplay. And then there's just like, well, it also was just too common, the relic that yielded it.
I mean, the expectation was that, because this is a hard challenge, most of the time when people try, they will fail. But the reality is, once you get the ability to do it, you just trade for that thing and get it every time.
Yeah.
So that's kind of meant that the
Printing.
rarity kind of didn't work like we thought, and now that should be better in both ways.
Again, for the POE 1 players comparison, like it was far more common than Original Sin, which was the same role in POE 1's version of the Sanctum, just to give us some sort of comparison.
It's just much easier to actually reliably do it.
And it shouldn't have been that much more common.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha. So crafting really surprised me. You guys announced. I thought we'd maybe get like one little thing. Maybe you'd do something with essences or something. But we've got essences coming out a lot more. It looks like you've got because you're violent. You can
So
into
greater
graders
essences,
now.
greater essences are going to be much easier to get. One thing we didn't mention in the video is that like omens are way more common because I believe you made a change. There's an omen in every
2.5 times more common, I think.
than every thing. So like you've got stuff like that. Like we certainly
Right,
knew that we
I'm
needed
geo
to do
window.
more with what crafting stuff, and so we're kind of like, well, let's just make sure we're at least adding 3 or 4 things, like new things to. And,
Every ritual will now have at least one omen in the window.
Amazing.
So you can know upon finishing a ritual, you're like, what is the omen I'm going to get, and
Yeah,
hope it's a good one. And
Love it.
maybe most often it's not, but you know.
But yeah, the greater essences, obviously, yeah, the Varlord thing makes it much more common. There's more sources of them with the map and everything like that. So that'll be happening more. And then, of course, there's the improvements to things like the runes. We've got higher level mods that you can get from them. There's like a ton more runes. There's like, we just wanted to expand the set and having the kind of like, the niche mods that you can get and craft onto things, like it just needed more options. And it's sort of interesting because like some people say, oh,